Hello everyone. We hope you're doing well. We're doing great, and we truly appreciate your ongoing support. We'd like to briefly address some comments regarding our audiobook series. Rest assured, progress is ongoing. That said, your feedback is vital. If there's a novel you particularly enjoy and want to hear more of, please let us know in the comments. Each chapter requires a financial investment, so we can only continue series that receive strong audience interest. Although we retain core names and plot lines, we make significant editorial changes to enhance clarity, pacing, and immersion. These are not simple recitations. We work hard to deliver a polished, thoughtful listening experience. Without sufficient feedback or engagement, we may need to discontinue a series. So if you're enjoying something, don't stay silent. Your input truly matters. Note, our default audio speed is 3x. If that's too fast, let us know. We're happy to adjust it. Interested in early access to unreleased audiobooks? Visit our Patreon. You'll get to experience new content before it reaches YouTube. Just to clarify, I'm a fan like you. I've purchased these novels and adapted them with care, while respecting all rights and guidelines. For updates, follow us on Facebook and Twitter, X. YouTube update: recently, YouTube flagged some of our content for including mature themes, realistic violence, and darker story elements. As a result, we've decided to stop uploading anything that violates YouTube's guidelines. If you'd like access to the full, uncut versions including the more intense or mature content, you can find them on our Patreon page, where we upload everything first. Available now on Patreon: Shattered Innocence transmigrated into a novel as an extra. Transmigrating over 10,000 years late, I was forced to become a mighty presence. I, the celestial dragon, rule the heavens through the double gate, reigning supreme in countless worlds with peace taming, Tower of God sequence strength, cultivation when you take things to the extreme. Naruto is Uchiha with cyst. WTF, the centuries-old ancestor in our family take concubine again. Plus 18, Ichi, reincarnated in Bleach as a wizard. Thanks for listening and happy listening. Chapter 1, Fall and Rebirth. The cave was pitch black, as cold as a starless night, and oppressively silent. Only the sound of 7 people breathing broke the stillness. They had gathered in a secluded nook, hidden behind a raging waterfall, far from the hustle and bustle of the outside world. Among the 7 figures, one lay unconscious. He was the youngest, a boy with a small frame typical of a 10-year-old child. The other 6 appeared older, all around 17 or 18 years of age. Fate was indeed unique. Of these 6 teenagers, 3 were male and 3 were female. They sat in a circle around the unconscious boy, their faces tense with worry. Suddenly, the young boy's small fingers twitched. Slowly but surely, his eyelids fluttered and opened. Confusion was evident in his innocent eyes. He looked up, staring blankly at the dark cave around him. "Where am I?" he mumbled weakly, his voice hoarse and faint. As soon as the words left his lips, his head felt like it had been struck by a sledgehammer. An intense pain pierced him mercilessly. Along with the pain, a flood of unfamiliar memories overwhelmed his mind. These memories were not his, or at least, that's how it felt. Yet, at the same time, they felt incredibly real, as if he had experienced them himself. 2 distinct sets of memories, colliding and merging within his head, created unimaginable chaos. "Og!" The young boy screamed loudly, his hands clutching his head tightly, trying to alleviate the pain that felt like it wanted to split his skull. The scream shattered the silence of the cave, startling the 6 teenagers watching over him. They quickly moved closer, their faces filled with panic. "Tsubasa-sama!" one of them exclaimed in a worried tone. "Tsubasa-sama, are you alright?" However, Tsubasa could not answer. His head felt like a battlefield where 2 sets of memories were at war. The pain intensified, blurring his vision. Before his consciousness completely faded, he could only hear panicked voices around him, calling his name with anxious tones. Then, darkness enveloped him once more. 2 hours passed in the darkness of the cave. When Tsubasa opened his eyes again, the first sight that greeted him was the relieved faces of the 6 people around him. They looked as if they had just experienced extreme panic. The torchlight they held cast flickering shadows on the cave walls, creating an atmosphere that was dramatic yet also filled with warmth. This time, when the memories resurfaced, Tsubasa no longer felt so overwhelmed. The pain in his head had significantly reduced, and he could focus more on understanding what was actually happening. From the fragmented, jumbled memories, he began to realize his situation. First, it seemed he was experiencing reincarnation, or some kind of memory awakening from a previous life. The sensation of this small body, the hoarse voice that was not his own, and the unfamiliar cave environment, were all undeniable proof. Reincarnation? Tsubasa mumbled softly, his eyes widening. The information felt so absurd yet so real. He touched his forehead, trying to process everything. His previous world, a modern world with all its technological conveniences and entertainment, now felt like a distant dream. However, reincarnation was not the main thing that caught his attention. The most important information he gleaned from the newly awakened memories was about the existence of a superpower called chakra. Yes, chakra, the power that was the core of the dangerous world of shinobi, the world of Naruto. He was actually in the world of Naruto. The world of manga and anime that he had only watched on screen, was now his reality. This incredible feeling was like a dream come true, but also a chilling nightmare. This is insane, Tsubasa thought to himself. However, the confusion and shock slowly turned into a deep curiosity. The world of Naruto, a ninja world with all their jutsu and thrilling battles. A world he only knew from manga and anime. And now, he was truly in it. The 6 people with him in this cave, according to the memories of his new body, were his subordinates. He was Tsubasa Takagami, the son of the leader of the Takagami ninja clan. A ninja clan whose name sounded unfamiliar, unlike the famous great clans like Senju, Uzumaki, Hyuga, or Uchiha. The names of those great clans immediately flashed through his mind, legendary names whose stories he had often read and watched. However, he was now part of an unknown clan, a clan that probably did not have a glorious history or mighty power like those great clans. This was a reality he had to face, a reality that was bitter yet also full of potential. The current timeline was the Warring States era, the darkest era in shinobi world history. An era where war and conflict between clans was daily fare. An era where a ninja's life was worth less than a sword blade. Tsubasa shuddered at the thought of this era filled with violence and uncertainty. He knew from the Naruto stories that this era was the foundation of the shinobi world he later came to know, but being in it was a completely different experience. At least I wasn't born into a great clan, Tsubasa thought, feeling a sliver of relief. As explained in the original work, famous ninja clans were almost always involved in wars. Being born into a ninja clan that was not too large might be a blessing in disguise. Perhaps with a smaller scale, the risks and pressures he faced would also not be as great as those giant clans. However, that luck turned out to be just an illusion. The real misfortune had just befallen his clan. The Takagami ninja clan was attacked by a stronger ninja clan, and almost all of their clan members perished. Only he survived. In that brutal attack, the Takagami clan was utterly destroyed, leaving behind ruins and bitter memories. Yes, only Tsubasa. While the 6 people with him were members of small ninja families affiliated with the Takagami clan. They were from the Toriyama, Ushidate, and Samejima families. These families had long served the Takagami clan, becoming the backbone of the clan's strength and network. Now, they were the last remnants of a fragile alliance. Toriyama Kiya, Ushidate Benkai, Toriyama Hotaru, Ushidate Ayam, Samejima Jinga, and Samejima Madoka. Tsubasa uttered the names of the 6 people in his heart, trying to recall their faces one by one. He tried to connect those names to the faces watching him anxiously. Kiya, with his sharp gaze and firm jawline, seemed the most mature and responsible. Benkai, with a larger frame and a slightly hesitant expression, was perhaps the most cautious. Jinga, with a thin smile and bright eyes, was possibly the most optimistic. Hotaru, Ayam, and Madoka, although looking worried, also had an aura of strong determination in their eyes. Amazingly, these 6 people were arranged pairs, betrothed by their families. It was ironic that the former clan leader was now alone, while his former subordinates already had partners. Fate truly loved to play games, Tsubasa thought bitterly. He was also supposed to be betrothed. The Takagami clan had plans to betroth him to a larger family, an alliance that had been agreed upon by both sides. This political marriage was supposed to strengthen the Takagami clan's position and give it access to greater resources and influence. However, the Takagami clan did not realize that this was a trap. Tsubasa's prospective fiancé's family was actually planning to eliminate the Takagami clan completely through this betrothal plan. This betrayal was a fatal blow to the Takagami clan, shattering their hopes and future. And so ended the tragic story of the Takagami family. They were wiped out, leaving only Tsubasa and his 6 subordinates. Tsubasa sighed deeply, banishing the bitter memories from his mind. He refocused his attention on his 6 subordinates, who were currently staring at him with hopeful eyes. Their hope and trust were both a burden and a motivation for him. He had to lead them, protect them, and together rebuild the ruined clan. What are the young lord's plans next? Does the young lord plan to take revenge? Toriyama Kiya's question broke the silence. His tone was full of loyalty and concern. Kiya was the first voice to speak after the long silence, breaking the tension hanging in the air. Tsubasa could clearly see that they were genuinely loyal to him. They had brought him to this secluded cave amidst pursuit from his former fiancé's family, with some wounds visible on their bodies. Their unwavering loyalty was the only asset left to Tsubasa, and he knew he had to cherish and reciprocate it. Hearing Kiya's question, Tsubasa fell silent for a moment, pondering. Revenge? His entire family, father, mother, siblings, were most likely killed in that attack. Anger and grief burned in his heart, yet he knew revenge was not a simple answer. Normally, he should take revenge. By any means, no matter the cost. That was what an heir of a clan who had lost everything should do. Revenge was the most obvious, most traditional, and most satisfying path for the pain and loss he felt. His 6 subordinates were still waiting for his answer, their faces tense with anticipation. They were ready to do whatever Tsubasa ordered, even if it meant risking their lives. Tsubasa looked at them one by one, his eyes sweeping across the faces of Kya, Benkai, Jinga, Hotaru, Ayam, and Madoka. Then, an idea suddenly popped into his mind. An idea that might sound crazy, but somehow felt right. Tsubasa took a deep breath, then exhaled it slowly. He looked at his 6 subordinates with a sharp yet gentle gaze. You 6, he said in a firm yet warm tone, you must get married immediately and have more children. The 6 teenagers froze, their eyes widening perfectly, their mouths gaping in disbelief. An awkward silence filled the cave for a moment. They were all shocked and confused by this completely unexpected command. Revenge was what they had expected, but marriage and children? This was a completely different direction. Huh? Ushade Ayam finally spoke, breaking the silence in a confused tone. Marry. And have children? She repeated Tsubasa's command, as if unsure of what she had just heard. Ayam, who was usually cheerful and talkative, was now at a loss for words. Yes, marry and have children, Tsubasa nodded firmly. That is my order as the last leader of the Takagami clan. He repeated his command with the same conviction, emphasizing his authority as the clan leader. Even though he was still young, he knew he had to act decisively and show a clear direction to his subordinates. But, Tsubasa-sama. What about revenge? Asked Toriyama, still not understanding the direction of his young lord's words. Shouldn't we avenge the destruction of the Takagami clan? Kya, who had seemed most eager for revenge earlier, was now bewildered. Revenge was a ninja's tradition and duty, how could Tsubasa ignore it? Tsubasa sighed again, this time longer. He looked at Kya with a serious gaze. Kya, revenge is important. I also want to avenge my family's deaths. But, the Takagami clan is almost extinct. There are only 7 of us left. What is the point of revenge if in the end our clan completely disappears from the face of the earth? He explained his logic calmly yet firmly. Kya fell silent, looking deep in thought. The other 6 teenagers also looked puzzled, trying to digest Tsubasa's words. They were beginning to realize that their young lord had a different view, a broader and more strategic perspective. The most important thing right now is not revenge, Tsubasa continued, his voice softening. The most important thing is to ensure the Takagami clan survives. We must rebuild our clan from scratch. And the best way to do that is to increase our numbers. He emphasized the importance of clan survival above all else. Revenge could be postponed, but the future of the clan could not. Increase our numbers. Same Jimajinga mumbled, his eyes wandering. Does the young lord mean, we should get married soon and have many children? Jinga, who was initially confused, was starting to understand the essence of Tsubasa's plan. Exactly, Jinga, Tsubasa smiled faintly. You 6 are already betrothed, right? That's a good start. Get married immediately, build strong families, and give birth to the next generation of the Takagami clan. Tsubasa's smile was a sign of hope and conviction. He believed in this plan, and he wanted to infect his subordinates with his belief. But, Tsubasa-sama. Ushade Benkai seemed hesitant. We are still too young to get married and have children. And besides, we are on the run. How can we build families in a situation like this? Benkai, who was pragmatic and realistic, voiced a sensible concern. Their current conditions were far from ideal for building families. That's the challenge, Benkai. Tsubasa looked at Benkai with an eager gaze. We are indeed in a difficult situation. But, precisely because of that, we must be stronger. We must prove that the Takagami clan will not give up so easily. We will rebuild our clan, even from the ruins. He acknowledged the difficulties they faced, but he also emphasized their determination to overcome those challenges. And your marriages are the first step, Tsubasa continued. Your marriages will strengthen the bonds between the families loyal to the Takagami clan. Your children will be the new generation of the Takagami clan, a generation that is stronger and more resilient than ever before. He explained the long-term goal of his marriage plan, which was to build a solid foundation for the Takagami clan in the future. The 6 teenagers fell silent, looking at each other. Slowly, the dot on their faces began to fade, replaced by a newfound determination and spirit. They were beginning to understand their young lord's vision. Revenge was important, but clan survival was far more crucial. They understood that Tsubasa was not just thinking about short-term revenge, but also the long-term future of the Takagami clan. I understand, Tsubasa-sama, Toriyama finally spoke, his face now looking brighter. We will carry out the young lord's command. We will get married and have many children. We will rebuild the Takagami clan. Kya, who was the first to voice doubts, was now the first to fully accept Tsubasa's plan. Yes, Tsubasa-sama. Ushidate and the 5 other teenagers nodded in unison, their voices full of enthusiasm. Their spirits which had been dim were now reignited. They felt new hope and a clear purpose. Tsubasa smiled in relief, seeing the change in his subordinate's attitude. He knew that his command might sound unusual, even ridiculous. But, he was convinced that this was the best path for the Takagami clan at this moment. Revenge could wait, but the future of the clan could not be postponed. He felt the burden on his shoulders slightly lifted, replaced by confidence and hope. Good, Tsubasa said, standing up straight. Then, let's begin the Takagami clan rebuilding plan. First of all, we must get out of this cave and find a safer place to build a temporary dwelling. Then, we will prepare for your 6 marriages. The first step they had to take was to get out of the cave and find a safer place. And after that? Asked Samejima Madoka, her eyes sparkling with hope. Madoka, who had seemed the most worried earlier, was now filled with spirit and optimism. Tsubasa smiled mysteriously. After that, we will surprise the shinobi world with the birth of a new generation of the Takagami clan. He looked at his 6 subordinates with burning confidence and determination. They would prove to the world that the Takagami clan was not extinct, and they would return stronger than ever. The 6 teenagers tried to laugh cheerfully to release their sadness, their spirits ignited. They knew that the road ahead would not be easy. But, with Tsubasa as their leader, they were confident they could overcome all obstacles. They were the last hope of the Takagami clan, and they would not disappoint their clan. In that dark and secluded cave, amidst threats and uncertainty, a new hope had been born. Hope to rebuild the Takagami clan, hope for a better future. Chapter 2, Fate's Gift. A week had passed since Tsubasa and his 6 followers left their hidden cave. They explored the wilderness, searching for a safe and strategic place to build a new life. After days of walking, they discovered a hidden valley that looked promising. The valley was surrounded by high cliffs, sheltering it from the outside world, and a clear river flowed through its heart. The land in the valley looked fertile, overgrown with shady trees and abundant greenery. The scent of damp soil and fresh leaves filled the air, mixed with the soothing sound of the river's murmur. Sunlight penetrated the gaps in the cliffs, creating a beautiful play of light and shadow on the valley floor. This place is perfect, Toriyama murmured, his eyes sweeping across the valley with a bright sparkle. Secluded, fertile, and with abundant water. We can settle here, Tsubasa-sama. Kya, who was always enthusiastic, immediately fell in love with this hidden valley. Yes, I agree, Ushidate nodded firmly. This valley is like a hidden paradise. We can farm and build homes here. Who had a strong maternal instinct, felt drawn to the fertility of the valley's soil. She imagined vast stretches of green fields, producing food for them and the future generations of the Takagami clan. Tsubasa carefully observed the valley. Memories from his previous life as a carpenter suddenly surfaced, giving him a different perspective on the place. He could see the valley's potential as an ideal dwelling place. The tall and sturdy trees around them were an invaluable source of wood, the soil was rich in nutrients, and the river was a lifeline that would ensure the availability of clean water throughout the year. He imagined comfortable and functional wooden houses standing strong in the middle of the valley, surrounded by fertile fields and gardens. The wood in the surrounding forest could be used to build houses, the soil was fertile for farming, and the river would provide clean water all year round. A gentle breeze blew softly, carrying the scent of wildflowers and the cheerful chirping of birds. The peaceful and tranquil atmosphere of this valley seemed to welcome them with open arms. All right, Tsubasa said firmly. We will settle in this valley. From now on, this place will be our home. Tsubasa's decision was met with joyful cheers from his 6 followers. They felt relieved and elated to have found a safe and promising place to restart their lives. A month later, the valley began to transform. With the hard work of the 7, 4 simple but sturdy wooden houses stood erect in the middle of the valley. The houses were built in a style different from the houses of that era, more functional and comfortable to live in. This efficient and ergonomic house design was entirely thanks to Tsubasa's memories as a carpenter in his previous life. He combined modern design principles with natural materials available in the valley, creating houses that were unique and practical. Tsubasa-sama is truly amazing, Toriyama Hotaru praised, admiring the wooden house designs Tsubasa had created. I've never seen houses like this before. They are so practical and beautiful. Hotaru, who had a high artistic spirit, was fascinated by the simple beauty of the wooden houses. Yes, It's all thanks to Tsubasa-sama's guidance, Ushidate Benkai chimed in, smiling proudly. Our young lord is indeed a genius. Benkai was amazed by Tsubasa's intelligence and knowledge, feeling proud to be part of this construction project. Tsubasa only smiled hearing the praise. If he possessed wood style, the wood element, the construction of these houses would have been completed in minutes. However, he did not have that ability. So, he could only rely on his carpentry skills and instruct his subordinates to build according to his instructions. He was aware of his current strength limitations, but he was not discouraged. He knew that with hard work and intelligence, they could overcome any obstacles. Flashback, Kya, Benkai, Jinga, the three of you focus on building the houses, Tsubasa ordered his 3 male subordinates. Make sure the structures are strong and durable. Hotaru, Madoka, the 3 of you help me make furniture. Tsubasa divided the tasks efficiently, utilizing the strengths and abilities of each of his subordinates. He knew that cooperation and division of tasks were the keys to their success. For the female subordinates, Tsubasa taught them how to make woven crafts and everyday tableware from pottery. He showed them how to process clay into various shapes, how to weave bamboo into baskets and mats, and how to make tableware from baked clay. Tsubasa-sama, where did you learn all this? Same Jima, Madoka asked, her eyes sparkling with admiration as she watched Tsubasa deftly make pottery. You really know everything. Madoka, who had great curiosity, was always impressed by Tsubasa's vast and diverse knowledge. Tsubasa paused for a moment, thinking hard for the right answer. He couldn't possibly say that he learned from DIY experiences in his previous life. Revealing his true identity as a reincarnation from another world was something he was not yet ready to do. I once saw some carpenters and craftsmen that my father met when the clan still existed, Tsubasa answered in a slightly sad tone, trying to play on emotions to prevent further questioning. I watch them work, and it seems my talent allows me to learn quickly. He tried to hide his confusion and nervousness by feigning sadness, hoping to divert his subordinates' attention from deeper questions. The 3 fell silent for a moment, appearing affected by Tsubasa's sad tone as he recalled their dark past. They exchanged glances, then simultaneously offered words of encouragement. They felt Tsubasa's sadness and wanted to comfort him, showing their support and loyalty. Tsubasa-sama, don't be sad, Toriyama Hotaru comforted sincerely. We are all here for you. We will rebuild the Takagami clan together. Hotaru, who had a gentle and compassionate heart, felt pity for Tsubasa and wanted to provide emotional support to him. Yes, Tsubasa-sama, Ushidate Ayam chimed in. The future of the Takagami clan is in our hands. We must not give up. Ayam, who had a high fighting spirit, wanted to boost Tsubasa's morale and remind him of the great responsibility on their shoulders. Tsubasa smiled warmly hearing the words of encouragement from his subordinates. He felt fortunate to have them by his side. They were not just subordinates, but also friends and family to him. Their presence was a source of strength and inspiration for him to keep moving forward. Thank you, everyone, Tsubasa said sincerely. I know I can count on you. Now, let's continue our work. We still have a lot to do. With renewed spirit, they returned to work, forgetting the sadness and pain of the past, focusing on the tasks at hand. And so began the routine that Tsubasa and his 6 subordinates lived for a full month. They worked hard building houses, making furniture, farming, and preparing everything for their new life in the Hidden Valley. Their days were filled with hard work and mutual cooperation, but also colored with laughter and camaraderie. They helped each other, encouraged each other, and strengthened each other in facing the challenges of a new life. In the midst of this busyness, they also prepared for the marriages of the 3 pairs who had been betrothed. Wedding preparations were carried out simply but solemnly, reflecting their limited conditions while still maintaining traditional values. Finally, the long-awaited time arrived. After their houses were completed, the weddings of the 3 new couples would be held today. That morning, the valley was filled with a wedding preparation atmosphere. The women were busy preparing their simple wedding clothes, while the men prepared the ceremony venue and simple dishes for the celebration. Simple but solemn wedding ceremonies were held alternately in each couple's house. Tsubasa was present as a witness, sitting beside the bride and groom as they recited their sacred vows. He felt honored and happy to be a part of this important moment in his subordinates' lives. Although some of them looked a little shy, especially the brides, the wedding ceremonies went smoothly and were filled with emotion. Vows of loyalty were spoken in trembling voices, eyes welled up with tears, and happy smiles adorned those young faces. Tsubasa felt happy seeing the joyful smiles on his subordinates' faces. This was a new beginning for them, the beginning of new families, the beginning of a new Takagami clan. This marriage was not just a ceremony, but also a symbol of hope and rebirth for their clan. After the wedding ceremonies were over, the 7 of them held a simple but lively celebration. They roasted various game animals obtained from the forest, picked fresh fruits from the forest, and cooked simple but delicious dishes. A bonfire blazed brightly in the middle of the valley, illuminating their happy faces and cheerful laughter. They laughed merrily, shared stories, and tried to forget the tragic events that had befallen their family more than a month ago. They looked to the future with hope and optimism. That night, they were family, bound by loyalty, friendship, and shared hope. The party lasted until late afternoon. As the sun began to set, one by one the newlywed couples began to enter their respective homes, leaving Tsubasa alone in his new house. The sound of laughter and chatter slowly subsided, replaced by the melodious silence of the night. A night full of happiness and anticipation for the couples, but for Tsubasa, it was perhaps a slightly lonely night. He opened his bedroom window, staring at the night sky studded with stars. The full moon shone brightly, illuminating the valley with a silvery light. He was alone, without anyone to accompany him. However, luckily he was still a child, at least physically. He still had plenty of time to build his future, to find love and happiness. His mental age might be over 40 years old if combined with his 2 previous lives, but his body was still 10 years old. He possessed the mental strength and maturity of an adult man, yet his body was only that of a small child. He could still withstand loneliness without feeling pressured, at least for now. He realized that loneliness was part of his destiny as a leader, but he would not let it control him. Fortunately, Tsubasa had something to distract him from that loneliness. Currently, his mind was focused on the cheat that came with him during reincarnation and memory merging last month. He took a deep breath, banishing the feeling of loneliness and refocusing on his plan. A cheat that could only be used once, and he still hadn't decided how he would use it. That cheat was his last trump card, a secret weapon that could change the fate of the Takagami clan. The function of the cheat was simple yet powerful. The cheat promised to create any ninjutsu, as long as that ninjutsu still had a slight connection or underlying theory to ninjutsu that had never appeared in the original work. This limitation forced him to think creatively and strategically in choosing what kind of ninjutsu he would create. And the ninjutsu created with this cheat would be instantly mastered by him, without having to go through a long learning process. This was a huge advantage, considering the limited time and resources they had. With this cheat, he could quickly gain significant power. During this busy month, Tsubasa had thought carefully about what ninjutsu he should create using that cheat. He spent his lonely nights contemplating various possibilities, considering the strengths and weaknesses of various types of ninjutsu. He remembered various iconic and powerful ninjutsu from famous characters in Naruto, such as Pain's Shinra Tensei, Kakazu's heart-stealing tentacles, Uchiha's Susanoo, Hiddon's immortality, Hashirama's wood style, Deodar's clay explosions, and various other iconic ninjutsu. He analyzed each ninjutsu, figuring out the basic principles and potential uses. After a full month of thinking and also considering various iconic abilities from various anime and films in his previous life, Tsubasa finally decided what kind of ability he wanted to create. He not only considered the power of ninjutsu, but also its usefulness and flexibility in various situations. He wanted to combine various abilities to make his ninjutsu as strong as possible, but he was limited to only using 7 abilities as the basis of his ninjutsu. This restriction forced him to choose wisely and strategically, ensuring each ability chosen truly contributed to the strength and uniqueness of his ninjutsu. With firm resolve, Tsubasa began formulating the details of his creation ninjutsu ability. He chose 7 abilities that he thought were the most suitable and strongest to combine. He noted every detail in his mind, carefully designing the structure and function of his new ninjutsu. The details of his ninjutsu ability were as follows. 1. Demon Bud Capture Net Jutsu Concept, a technique to combine various elements to create powerful creatures. He was inspired by Orochimaru's ability to create terrifying hybrid creatures. 2. Creation of Giant Tenseigan Eye on the Moon, the ability to combine bodily organs to become stronger. He was inspired by Tonari Otsutsuki's immense Tenseigan power. 3. Jinchuriki Seal, a technique to seal other creatures into a human body. He was inspired by the Jinchuriki and tailed beast system that was at the core of the Naruto world's power. 4. Kirizetsu's ability, a unique ability to split one's own body and manipulate the bodies of other creatures. He was inspired by Kirizetsu's cunning and extraordinary manipulation abilities. 5. Emotion Absorption from Zero Tail, the ability to absorb negative emotions to increase power. He was inspired by the unique power of the Zero Tail that was able to utilize negative emotions as an energy source. 6. Shirizetsu Underground Movement, the ability to move quickly underground through tree roots. He was inspired by Shirizetsu's ability to move undetected underground. 7. Shirizetsu Perfect Disguise, the ability to disguise and blend in with the surrounding environment without being detected. He was inspired by Shirizetsu's ability to disguise himself as anyone without being recognized. The conclusion of this ninjutsu's function is absorbing the bodies of dead people, especially their brains. This is the primary function of this ninjutsu. The brains absorbed from dead bodies will be combined into a large brain sealed inside Tsubasa's body, using the demon bud capture net jutsu, giant Sharingan, and Jinchuriki seal concepts. He imagined the absorbed brains would become a source of knowledge and give him a stronger understanding. The second function is creating a tailed beast-like entity that has the ability to split, assimilate with others, absorb emotions, move underground, and have perfect disguise. This entity is sealed inside his body along with the large brain. This combines the abilities of Kirizetsu, Shirizutsu, and Zero Tail. This entity would become a secret weapon and protector for him, ensuring his safety was guaranteed. If Tsubasa wanted to use this ninjutsu's power, he could use it like a Jinchuriki, borrowing the power of a tailed beast. He could access the power and abilities of the entity sealed within his body, increasing his physical strength, chakra, and ninja senses. However, unlike normal Jinchuriki, there would be no resistance or conflict when Tsubasa wanted to borrow this power. This power would be completely obedient and fused with his will. He would have complete control over this power, without the risk of losing control or being controlled by the entity. Due to this ninjutsu's unique and terrifying characteristics, Tsubasa decided to name it Venom. The name sounded mysterious, powerful, and slightly evil, perfectly matching the power of the ninjutsu he had created. He smiled contentedly, feeling confident that Venom would become a powerful weapon and a valuable asset for the revival of the Takagami clan. Chapter 3, Mission of Hope. A year had passed since the wedding of the three couples. Life in the Hidden Valley flowed peacefully and tranquilly. Their days were filled with farming, animal husbandry, ninjutsu training, and enjoying each other's company as a small family. The valley had truly become a comfortable and safe home for the seven of them. The morning sun shone gently on the valley, warming the cool air and awakening the burgeoning life there. The quietly flowing river became the background melody of their lives, accompanying every step and laugh that echoed in the valley. Lush green trees grew, providing shade and coolness, while their fields turned green, promising a bountiful harvest. One bright afternoon, almost everyone gathered at Kia's house. The atmosphere around the house felt tense and slightly anxious. Kia himself paced back and forth in front of his house, his face ashen. Cold sweat beaded on his temples, and his hands clenched tightly, showing extraordinary nervousness. Tsubasa tried to calm his subordinate and friend, although he himself felt a little nervous inside. Beside Tsubasa, Benkai and Jinga also looked restless, but some of their attention was diverted to the two tiny creatures in their arms, their children who had been born a few months earlier. The baby's presence slightly eased the tension, but did not completely eliminate the worry that enveloped them. Calm down, Kia, Tsubasa gently patted Kia's shoulder. Everything will be alright. Hotaru is strong, she will definitely get through this. Tsubasa tried to project calm and confidence, even though within his own heart various feelings churned. He knew how important this moment was for Kia and Hotaru, and he wanted to give them the best support he could. But this is my first child being born, Tsubasa-sama. Kia exclaimed in a panicked tone. I'm so worried. His voice trembled, reflecting his fear and anxiety as a father-to-be. He imagined various bad possibilities that could happen, and his heart felt like it was being squeezed. I understand how you feel, Kia, Benkai chimed in, although his own voice sounded a little shaky. I felt the same way when Ion gave birth to Seiya. My heart felt like it was going to jump out of my chest. Benkai tried to share his experience to comfort Kia, showing that feeling nervous and worried was a normal thing for every father-to-be to experience. Jinga nodded in agreement, while cradling the baby in his arms. That's just how it feels. But trust me, Kia, the happiness after hearing the baby's cry will make all your worries disappear. Jinga smiled gently, recalling the moment his daughter, Yumi, was born. The happiness and relief he felt at that time was truly indescribable in words. Inside the house, two other women, Ashide Tayama and Samejima Madoka, were deftly assisting Hotaru in the labor process. Gentle, soothing voices drifted from within, punctuated occasionally by Hotaru's soft groans. Ayam and Madoka tried to provide both moral and physical support to Hotaru, ensuring she felt comfortable and calm during the tense labor. Time seemed to move incredibly slowly for Kia and the three men outside the house. Every second felt like hours, filled with anxiety and hope. They listened intently to every sound from inside the house, trying to guess what was happening. Their anxiety increased as time went on. Suddenly, the tense silence was broken by a loud, clear baby's cry. The cry immediately filled the air, erasing all tension and anxiety. The first cry of a baby is always a miracle, a symbol of new life and endless hope. Kia froze for a moment, then his eyes widened, and a broad smile soon bloomed on his face. Without waiting any longer, He burst into the house with burning enthusiasm. He couldn't wait to see his wife and child, to welcome their new family member. Hotaru. Honey. Kia called out in a tone full of emotion and happiness. His voice trembled with overflowing emotion. He forgot all his nervousness and anxiety, all that remained was extraordinary happiness and relief. Shortly after, Kia emerged from the house, his face beaming. It's a boy. My son is a boy. He exclaimed proudly, greeted by joyful cheers from Tsubasa, Benkai, and Jinga. Kia's happiness was contagious to them, and they all shared the same joy. Congratulations, Kia. Tsubasa shook Kia's hand with a wide smile. I knew everything would go smoothly. He felt relieved and happy to see Kia successfully get through this tense moment. The safe birth of this child was the most beautiful gift for them all. Congratulations, Kia, you're finally a father too, Benkai added, laughing in relief. He patted Kia's shoulder affectionately, sharing happiness with his friend. Congratulations, congratulations. Jinga also chimed in with congratulations, his face also beaming. He held his baby tighter, feeling the warmth and happiness of family fill his heart. After ensuring that both mother and child were safe and healthy, it was Tsubasa's turn to feel a slight headache. As expected, Kia, like Benkai and Jinga before him, asked Tsubasa to name their child. The tradition of giving baby names to the clan leader was a way to show respect and trust, as well as hoping that the name would bring good fortune to the child. Tsubasa-sama, please give a good name to my son, Kia pleaded in a hopeful tone. He looked at Tsubasa with pleading eyes, hoping his young lord would give a beautiful and meaningful name to his son. Tsubasa thought for a moment, then smiled. Alright, Kia. Since your son was born with a fiery spirit like you, how about we name him? Kotaru. Tsubasa chose a name that suited Kia's personality and hopes, reflecting the fighting spirit and courage of a samurai. Kotaru. Toriyama Kotaru, Kia repeated the name softly, then his eyes lit up. A great name, Tsubasa-sama. I really like it. He felt very happy and honored with the name Tsubasa had given his son. The name felt fitting and meaningful to him. Previously, Benkai and Jinga had also asked Tsubasa to name their children. For Benkai's son, Tsubasa chose the name Seiya, which meant loyal and righteous man, hoping his son would grow up to be a loyal and kind person. He wanted to instill virtues in the next generation of the Takagami clan. Meanwhile, for Jinga's daughter, Tsubasa gave the name Yumi, a name that meant gentle and beautiful, hoping his daughter would grow up to be as beautiful and gentle as her mother. He wanted his daughter to inherit Madoka's gentleness and grace, becoming a woman who was loved and respected. To celebrate this joyous event, they slaughtered their farm-raised chickens and held a small feast. They ate together, laughed merrily, and shared happiness. Simple but delicious dishes were served on a handmade wooden table, becoming a symbol of their prosperity and togetherness. That night, the Hidden Valley was filled with the warmth and happiness of a family. They tried to forget the tragic events that had befallen their clan more than a year ago, and looked to the future with brighter hopes. The bonfire was lit again, illuminating their happy faces and cheerful laughter until late into the night. 2 months passed since the birth of the 3 babies. Life in the valley felt increasingly complete and warm with the presence of new family members. Baby laughter, small steps learning to walk, and children's cheerful babble filled the valley with new happiness. Tsubasa noticed that the atmosphere in the valley became more stable and calm. The new fathers seemed more responsible and enthusiastic in their work and ninjutsu training. The presence of their children became additional motivation to work harder and protect their families. Tsubasa felt that now was the right time to begin his plan to activate the Venom ninjutsu. He had postponed this plan long enough, waiting for the right moment when conditions allowed. Initially, he hesitated to ask for his subordinates' help in the near future, because he felt that these new fathers would be much needed at home to help their wives take care of the babies. He did not want to burden them with additional tasks while they were enjoying their new roles as fathers. However, the urge to immediately test his new power was too strong to resist. Curiosity and ambition as a ninja drove him to start this plan immediately. One afternoon, Tsubasa gathered his 3 subordinates at his house. Kia, Benkai, Jinga, Tsubasa called out in a serious tone. There is something I want to ask for your help with. He looked at his 3 subordinates with a sharp and determined gaze, indicating the seriousness of his request. What is it, Tsubasa-sama? Kia asked, his face immediately turning serious. He sensed a change in Tsubasa's tone and expression, and he knew that this was not an ordinary request. I need you to help me get some ninja corpses, Tsubasa said in a soft but firm tone. He uttered those words carefully, ensuring the message he wanted to convey was clear and did not cause misunderstandings. His 3 subordinates fell silent for a moment, exchanging glances with confused expressions. Tsubasa's request sounded strange and unexpected. Ninja corpses? Benkai asked, his eyebrows furrowed. What for, Tsubasa-sama? He tried to understand his young lord's intention, but he could not find a logical reason why Tsubasa would need ninja corpses. This is to study a new forbidden ninjutsu, Tsubasa answered, intentionally adding a bit of mystery to his request. This ninjutsu is very important to increase our strength. But I need ninja corpses as experimental material. He explained a small part of his plan, hiding the real details about the Venom ninjutsu and the purpose of its use. Hearing the words forbidden ninjutsu and increase our strength, the eyes of his three subordinates immediately lit up. They were very interested in the prospect of new power and greater ninjutsu abilities. The desire to become stronger in order to protect the Takagami clan burned in their hearts. They already greatly trusted Tsubasa's genius in creating ninjutsu. The proof was the Rasengan that they had successfully learned in this period. A high-level ninjutsu that was once just a dream, had now become a reality thanks to Tsubasa's guidance. Although they could only release a maximum of 2 Rasengans per day, after which their chakra would be exhausted, but it was a ni-rank ninjutsu, a small ninja clan like theirs certainly did not have such a great heritage. Rasengan was clear proof of Tsubasa's genius, and they were sure this new forbidden ninjutsu would be far more powerful. Of course, Tsubasa-sama! Kia exclaimed enthusiastically. We will do anything to help Tsubasa-sama become stronger. He did not hesitate even slightly to accept Tsubasa's request. His trust and loyalty to his young lord were unwavering. Yes, Tsubasa-sama. Benkai and Jinga also nodded in agreement enthusiastically. Just tell us what we need to do. They were ready to carry out Tsubasa's orders, even if it meant facing danger and difficulty. They believed that Tsubasa always had a strong reason for every decision he made. I don't need strong ninja corpses, Tsubasa explained. The important thing is ninja corpses, anyone will do. But I want you to be careful. Don't get caught, and don't leave any traces. Your safety is the top priority. He emphasized the importance of their safety, reminding them to always be vigilant and avoid unnecessary risks. Leave it to us, Tsubasa-sama. Kia said confidently. We will bring the ninja corpses that Tsubasa-sama needs as soon as possible. He showed their confidence and ability to complete this mission successfully. The decision had been made. Kia and Benkai would depart to find ninja corpses, while Jinga would remain in the valley to stand guard. The safety of the valley was the top priority, especially with 3 babies who were still very vulnerable. Tsubasa did not want to take the risk of losing their newborn family members. Tsubasa's current strength level was also not sufficient to face potential threats, so Jinga's presence as an additional guard was necessary. He realized the limitations of his current strength, and he knew that he had to increase his power soon to protect the Takagami clan. The next day, Kia and Benkai said goodbye to begin their mission. Hotaru and Ayam hugged their husbands tightly, with worried but also hopeful faces. The farewell was filled with mixed emotions, between anxiety and confidence, between doubt and hope. Jinga and Madoka also gave encouragement and hope that their mission would go smoothly and safely. They strengthened each other's hearts, providing mutual moral support to face this temporary separation. Be careful on the road, Hotaru advised in a soft voice. Don't forget to always be vigilant. She looked into Kia's eyes with affection, conveying a message of deep care and love. Don't push yourselves too hard, Ayam chimed in with a worried tone. If there is danger, return immediately. She reminded Benkai to always prioritize their safety above all else. Tsubasa also reminded them once again. Kia, Benkai, remember my message. Your safety is the top priority. If your lives are threatened, abandon this mission. Don't hesitate to run away. He reaffirmed the importance of their safety, showing that this mission was not everything compared to their lives. Kia and Benkai nodded firmly, their faces full of determination. We understand, Tsubasa-sama. We will be careful. We will definitely return safely, bringing the ninja corpses that Tsubasa-sama needs. They promised to carry out this mission to the best of their ability, but still prioritize the safety of themselves and their comrades. With a final wave, Kia and Benkai disappeared behind the trees of the forest, leaving the hidden valley under the worried and hopeful gaze of the 5 remaining people. Tsubasa, Jinga, Hotaru, Ayam, and Madoka watched their departure with mixed feelings, hoping that this mission would be successful and that Kia and Benkai would return safely. The future of the Takagami clan now depended on the success of this mission and the new ninjutsu power that Tsubasa would create. Chapter 4, Venom. The man with a scar across his face ran as fast as his legs could carry him, his heart pounding like a war drum. 2 dark figures relentlessly pursued him, murderous intent radiating from their auras. The man knew this could be the end of his journey. His breath came in ragged gasps, his lungs burned, but he forced himself to keep running, away from the deadly threat lurking behind him. The dense forest around him felt like an endless labyrinth, each step feeling heavier and more tiring. Don't run anymore, coward. One of the pursuers shouted from behind, his voice rough and menacing, shattering the forest silence. The words were like a whip spurring him on, but also adding to the despair that was beginning to gnaw at his heart. He knew that running away was not a solution, only delaying the inevitable end. The wounded man gritted his teeth. Enough was enough. He stopped running, turning to face his two approaching enemies. His sudden movement startled the night birds perched on tree branches, their wings flapping in panic, breaking the forest's stillness. He drew a kunai from his ninja pouch, ready to fight to his last breath. His eyes flashed with fierce determination, even though his body was already covered in wounds and exhaustion. "You think I'll just give up?" the man hissed, his eyes blazing with anger. Rage and pride were his last fuel to survive. He would not surrender without a fight, even if his chances of winning were slim. The two pursuers stopped in front of him, mocking grins plastered on their faces. In the pale moonlight, their faces looked even more menacing, like demons emerging from the darkness. The first was tall and bulky with a large sword slung across his back, his figure intimidating and threatening. The second was smaller and more agile, twirling twin kunai in his hands with swift and deadly movements, his eyes narrowed slyly, observing his prey intently. "If you want to blame someone," the large man said in a heavy, deep voice, like the rumble of rocks, "blame your bad luck for becoming our target." The words sounded like a death sentence, cold and merciless. He was completely confident in their victory, underestimating the wounded man's abilities. "Don't joke around, it's not certain who will survive. Besides, even if I die, I will definitely wound you badly," retorted the wounded man, and immediately lunged forward to attack. He forgot the pain and exhaustion, only the determination to fight and survive remained. The kunai in his hand moved quickly, trying to find a gap in the enemy's defense. A fierce battle was inevitable. The clang of weapons clashing, the whistling wind as kunai flew, and shouts of anger filled the air. The fight was intense and fast-paced, typical of ninja battles in the Naruto world. The three exchanged blows and dodged nimbly, using various C-rank ninjutsu in an attempt to take each other down. The silver glint of kunai flashed between the trees, their shadows moved nimbly in the moonlight, creating a terrifying dance of death. The wounded man desperately tried to defend himself, but he was overwhelmed facing two enemies at once. He managed to evade some attacks, but was hit several times by kunai slashes and heavy blows. Blood began to drip from his wounds, soaking his torn clothes, but he did not give up. His will to survive was greater than the pain he felt. One of the two pursuers, the smaller and more agile figure, jumped back, creating distance from his opponent. He opened his palm, and chakra quickly gathered there, forming an increasingly large vortex of energy. Then, he stretched his hand forward, a spinning chakra ball appeared in his palm, emitting a dazzling blue light. "Rasengan!" He shouted loudly, the name of the ninjutsu escaping his lips at the same time as the chakra ball shot towards his opponent's heart. It was Toriyama, and beside him, Benkei was also preparing to attack. The two of them, after not facing other ninjas for over a year, finally felt the adrenaline of battle flowing fiercely within them again. Fear and nervousness were replaced by fighting spirit and a desire to prove their strength. Kya's Rasengan struck the wounded man's chest dead center. The sound of bones cracking was clearly heard as the man staggered backward, eyes wide in shock, before finally collapsing to the ground, motionless. The fierce battle ended with a resounding victory for Kya and Benkei. Silence returned to envelop the forest, only the panting breaths of Kya and Benkei broke the quiet. "Pa. Pa." Kya panted, sweat soaking his face. "All thanks to Tsubasa-sama's new ninjutsu creation," he said proudly, although his breath was still ragged. He felt extraordinary fatigue, but also pride and satisfaction at having won this fight. Rasengan, an A-rank ninjutsu that he could only dream of before, was now his reliable weapon. "You're right," Benkei replied, also looking exhausted. "This Rasengan is truly an amazing ninjutsu. I never imagined I would be able to master an E-rank ninjutsu like this. Do you still have any energy left, Kya?" He felt his body weak and out of chakra, but his spirit remained burning. He wanted to return to the valley soon and share their victory story with Tsubasa and the others. Kya chuckled softly. "Wait a moment, it's been more than a year since I faced another ninja, so my body is a bit rusty." Luckily, everything went smoothly. He tried to normalize his breathing, feeling the chakra flow within his body again. This victory proved that their hard training all this time was not in vain. Benkei nodded in agreement. Then they both rested for a moment to recover their peak condition. They sat leaning against a shady tree, enjoying the fresh night air and the silence of the forest. This victory was proof of their strength and hard work, and they deserved to celebrate it for a moment. "Let's go back, Kya. Our mission is complete. I want to see you soon," Benkei exclaimed after feeling his body starting to recover. Longing for his son overcame the fatigue and aches in his body. He wanted to hug Seiya soon and share his adventure story with his wife, Ayam. Kia had also recovered, and hearing Benkai's words, a smile also bloomed on his face as he thought of his son, Kotaru, at home. Longing for his family burned in his heart, motivating them to return to the valley immediately. The two of them collected the corpses of the ninjas they had defeated, then hurried back towards the Hidden Valley, their home. Their mission was complete, and they couldn't wait to return to the warmth of family and the peace of the valley. Meanwhile, in the peaceful valley, Tsubasa was busy tending to the plants in his garden. He weeded, watered the plants, and checked the growth of the vegetables they had planted. This farming routine had become part of his daily life over the past year. He enjoyed the simplicity and tranquility of life in the valley, feeling a peace he had never felt before. Peaceful life, Tsubasa murmured softly, wiping sweat from his forehead. Who would have thought I would become a farmer in this war-torn ninja world? He smiled faintly, contemplating the irony of his fate. In his previous world, he was just an ordinary worker living a fast-paced and busy modern life. Now, he was a young ninja leading a small clan in a world full of danger and violence, yet he found peace in the simplicity of farming life. He was grateful to be able to enjoy this peace, although deep down he knew that this tranquility might not last long. The shinobi world was a cruel and dangerous place. Conflicts and wars could erupt at any time, destroying this fragile peace. But at least, for now, I can enjoy life like this, Tsubasa thought, trying to comfort himself. He had learned almost all the remaining ninjutsu from the destroyed Takagami clan. He continued to practice and develop his abilities, preparing himself to face challenges that might come in the future. However, he knew that these ninjutsu alone were not enough to protect him and his loved ones in this dangerous world. That was why he created the Venom ninjutsu, a secret weapon he hoped would make him stronger. Venom was his greatest hope, the key to surviving and rebuilding the Takagami clan. The day was getting hotter, the sun began to feel scorching on the skin. Tsubasa decided to go home. However, as he walked towards the valley, he sensed a different atmosphere from earlier that morning. The valley seemed more alive, the sounds of laughter and chatter were louder from afar. He felt positive energy filling the air, dispelling the silence and tranquility that usually enveloped the valley. Kia and Benkai must be back. Tsubasa exclaimed in his heart immediately feeling relieved and happy. He quickened his pace, impatient to reunite with his two friends. The longing and worry that had haunted him now vanished, replaced by anticipation and happiness. True enough, when he arrived in the middle of the valley, he saw Kia and Benkai already gathered with the others. They looked cheerful and excited, sharing stories about their adventures over the past 2 days. The children rested in their mother's arms, seeming to laugh along as if understanding that their fathers had returned safely. "Tsubasa-sama!" Kia exclaimed, seeing Tsubasa approaching. He immediately approached Tsubasa with a wide smile. "We're back." And the mission was successful. He showed the ninja corpses they had brought as proof of their mission's success. "Welcome back," Tsubasa greeted Kia and Benkai with a relieved smile. "I'm glad you both returned safely." He shook hands with Kia and Benkai, feeling extraordinary relief seeing them return unharmed. "It's all thanks to Tsubasa-sama's ninjutsu," Benkai chimed in proudly. "Rasengan is truly amazing. The enemy didn't stand a chance at all." He recounted how effective the Rasengan was in their battle, praising Tsubasa's genius in creating such a powerful ninjutsu. Kia nodded in agreement. "We managed to get the ninja corpses that Tsubasa-sama needed. Here they are." Kia handed a large scroll to Tsubasa. The scroll looked rather worn, one of the few relics of the Takagami clan that survived the destruction. Tsubasa calmly accepted the scroll. He did not immediately open it, but instead suggested holding a welcome party for Kia and Benkai. "Let's celebrate your return with a small party. It's been a long time since we partied together." He wanted to celebrate this happy moment with his little family, strengthening the bonds of brotherhood and togetherness among them. Initially, Kia and Benkai slightly refused, feeling it was not appropriate to party as if nothing important had happened. They felt this was unnecessary. However, Tsubasa was determined to celebrate this happy moment. He knew that togetherness and happiness were the most precious things, and they deserved to have fun after completing a dangerous mission. Finally, the 7 of them and the 3 little babies partied together joyfully. They roasted chicken, made rice balls, onigiri, and enjoyed fresh fruits. Laughter and cheerful conversation filled the valley, warming the evening atmosphere. The presence of the small children added to the warmth and happiness of their party. The night grew late, and the welcome party ended. After everyone had fallen asleep, Tsubasa quietly left his house. He headed to a small building that stood somewhat apart from the other houses. The building was a simple laboratory that he had built himself, a place where he would experiment with the Venom ninjutsu. The laboratory was his secret place, where he would test the limits of his power and develop the hidden potential within him. The room looked empty and silent, only illuminated by the dim light of a torch. Tsubasa unrolled the scroll given by Kya, revealing its contents. A thin plume of smoke escaped from the scroll, then Tsubasa saw the lifeless body of a ninja lying on a wooden table in the middle of the room. The corpse looked pale and stiff, but perfectly preserved. The corpse looked like it had died some time ago, but Kya and Benkai had managed to preserve it using ninja techniques taught in the Takagami clan in the past. Tsubasa nodded in satisfaction. This corpse was good enough for his first experiment. He felt excited and eager, impatient to test Venom's power immediately. Without wasting time, Tsubasa began to string together the hand seals that had been imprinted in his memory since the Venom ninjutsu was completed. His fingers moved nimbly and quickly, forming intricate seals that triggered the flow of chakra within his body. He felt an extraordinary chakra energy flowing rapidly in his veins, ready to be released. This was the first time he had used this ninjutsu directly, but it felt like he already had years of experience. His hand movements were swift and precise, chakra flowed smoothly within his body, as if Venom was already an inseparable part of him. Some mysterious black symbols and writing appeared from his palms as he touched the corpse's chest. The symbols crept across the corpse's body, covering skin, clothing, and anything attached to it. The corpse began to shrink slowly, as if being absorbed into another dimension. A pitch-black light enveloped the corpse, then the light shot towards Tsubasa's body, merging with his body without resistance. After the black light merged with his body, Tsubasa immediately sat cross-legged on the floor, closed his eyes, and began to concentrate on fully activating the Venom ninjutsu. He focused all his attention on the process of activating Venom, feeling the energy changes within his body. He felt a strange sensation spread throughout his body, the chakra within him spinning rapidly, absorbing energy from the corpse he had just absorbed. The sensation felt strange but not frightening, instead arousing curiosity and excitement within him. Time passed quickly. Approximately an hour later, Tsubasa slowly opened his eyes. He stood up calmly, feeling the changes taking place within his body. His strength and chakra felt slightly increased, although the change was not too significant. Suddenly, a pitch-black liquid began to seep from the pores of his skin, enveloping his entire body like a cloak. His body turned pitch black, then he disappeared, sinking into the ground like a liquid. He felt himself merge with the earth, moving freely and without hindrance beneath the earth's surface. With incredible speed, he moved underground, passing through intertwined tree roots, darting away from his laboratory. He felt an extraordinary sensation as he moved underground, like swimming in an ocean of darkness. In a few moments, Tsubasa reappeared to the surface, in a place several kilometers away from the hidden valley. He stood upright, feeling new power flowing within him. He smiled in satisfaction, ensuring that his cheat was indeed working perfectly. The ability that was once only possessed by the two Zetsu in the Naruto world, now belonged to him. Venom was reality, no longer just a theory or imagination. Venom. An extraordinary ninjutsu, Tsubasa murmured in admiration. And this was not yet fully complete. He could still continue to absorb other corpses to improve his abilities, both to strengthen his brain and his body's resistance. Venom had unlimited potential, and he had just opened the gate to extraordinary power. If he continued to hunt corpses and absorb them, he was sure that one day he would surpass the power of Senju Hashirama. Tsubasa laughed out loud, imagining himself replacing Hashirama as the god of shinobi in the future. A new ambition had ignited in his heart, the ambition to become the strongest ninja in the world, with the power of the Venom ninjutsu in his hands. The shinobi world would tremble under his power, the Takagami clan would rise again, and he would stand at the pinnacle of power, carving his name into the history of the ninja world. Chapter 5, Grim Harvest. The clang of steel clashing was deafening, echoing across the vast grasslands, now transformed into a sea of blood and death. The coppery scent of blood mingled with the smell of damp soil and torn grass, creating a sickening stench on the battlefield. The odor of death permeated every fiber of the air, choking the lungs and triggering an unbearable nausea. The land, once green and fertile, was now blackish red, trampled and strewn with corpses, a silent witness to the cruelty of war. Amidst this chaos, a young ninja staggered backward, his chest stained crimson with dark blood. The katana in his hand trembled, almost slipping from his grasp. The young ninja's face was ashen, his eyes wide with shock and pain. His breath came in ragged gasps, blood flowing from the gaping wound in his chest. Before him stood a ninja of similar age, holding a katana dripping with fresh blood. Ganjutsu. You. The young ninja groaned with difficulty, trying to withstand the pain that spread throughout his body. The enemy's Ganjutsu had trapped him, disrupting his senses and leaving him vulnerable to a fatal attack. He regretted his carelessness, too confident in his own abilities, ultimately falling into the enemy's trap. The ninja before him sneered coldly, utterly merciless. His sharp, cold eyes radiated terrifying cruelty, like the eyes of a serpent ready to devour its prey. Deception is part of battle. You're too naive if you think honor will save you on the battlefield. His words pierced the young ninja's heart. With a swift and ruthless movement, he swung his katana, ending the young ninja's resistance. A flash of the blade split the air, and the gruesome sound of a slicing blow ended the life of the unfortunate young ninja. The young ninja's body collapsed to the ground with a thud, his eyes still wide, staring at the vast sky. The sound of katana blades meeting, kunai and shuriken whizzing through the air, the screams of the wounded, and roars of rage mingled together, creating a terrifying symphony on the battlefield. These sounds of death and destruction echoed each other, creating an ear-splitting din and triggering a deep-seated fear. Every sound was a reminder of the cruelty of war, of inevitable loss and suffering. Thousands of lives clashed in a fierce, seemingly endless battle. Waves of chakra collided in the air, creating ripples of energy that shook the ground and surrounding trees. Dust billowed, mixing with a blood mist, as if painting the sky a somber, dark red. The once bright blue sky was now covered in dust and smoke clouds, the sun dimmed behind the darkness engulfing the battlefield. Some warriors fell, collapsing to the earth, yet their fighting spirit remained unyielding. With their remaining strength, they rose again, charging at the enemies blocking their path, all to protect their clan's honor, their families, and their homeland. Their spirit burned brightly, even as death lurked at every step. Their resolve was the last shield against despair, the strength that drove them to keep fighting even on the brink of destruction. However, many also fell and never rose again. Their lifeless bodies lay scattered, silent witnesses to the brutality of war. Severed limbs, weapons lying beside them, blood pooling on the ground around them. Their eyes, once full of spirit, now stared blankly at the sky, their hands that once gripped weapons now limp and powerless. Life had abandoned them on this cruel battlefield, leaving only emptiness and eternal silence. In the midst of the horrifying battlefield chaos, black shadows occasionally appeared and disappeared as fast as lightning. Their movements were too fast to be caught by ordinary human eyes, leaving an impression of mystery in the darkness. Their presence was like the whisper of death amidst the battle's clamor, like ghosts lurking among the fighting warriors. They moved silently, undetected, as if part of the darkness itself. The figure moved in the depths of the ground amidst the battling warriors, like a ghost seeking prey. Every movement was utterly silent, and each time the black shadow disappeared, several corpses nearby vanished with it, as if swallowed by the earth without a trace. This strange phenomenon occurred repeatedly, yet no one on the battlefield noticed, as they were too engrossed in the raging fierce battle. Their minds were too focused on the life and death struggle before their eyes. Every second was a fight for survival, to avoid an opponent's katana slash, to avenge the deaths of their comrades. Their attention was entirely focused on the battle, leaving no room to notice other things around them. The black shadow and disappearing corpses were merely insignificant details amidst this hellish din. They were humans fighting for their lives, with no room to heed things outside the scope of battle. As the sun began to lean westward, signs of exhaustion began to appear on both sides. The number of casualties continued to rise, and the losses suffered were already too great. The burning spirit at the start of the battle was now beginning to dim, replaced by despair and a desire to end it all. The surviving warriors began to feel extraordinary fatigue, both physically and mentally. The leaders of both forces realized that this battle would only bring further destruction. They saw the devastation before their eyes and realized that true victory would never be achieved on this battlefield. All that remained was endless loss and suffering. They decided to end this futile bloodshed. A difficult, yet wise decision to save the remnants of the surviving troops. Retreat! Retreat! Shouted the commander of the Eastern forces, his voice echoing amidst the battlefield's clamor. This order was given with the hope of halting further bloodshed, ending a battle that only brought misery. Pull back the troops, replied the commander of the Western forces, his voice equally loud. Both commanders exchanged glances, realizing that this battle had reached a stalemate. There was no point in continuing the futile bloodshed. The order to retreat was greeted with relief by the exhausted soldiers. Both sides began to withdraw their troops, slowly but surely. Extraordinary fatigue assaulted their bodies, but the relief of the battle ending slightly lightened their burden. Their footsteps faltered, their weapons hung limply, yet their hearts were filled with relief and hope. Even in retreat, they remained vigilant, on guard in case the enemy tried to exploit this moment to launch a counterattack. Tension still hung in the air, but the battlefield, once roaring, slowly began to subside, turning silent and chilling. The sounds of battle gradually disappeared, replaced by a frightening silence, as if the universe was holding its breath after a terrible storm. The black shadow, which had been moving among the corpses, watched the retreating troops from afar with a cold gaze. Its unseen eyes radiated a strange calm amidst the chaos that had just occurred. It ensured that the battle was truly over, that there were no more suspicious movements on the battlefield. After confirming the situation was safe, the black figure vanished, delving into the darkness underground, leaving the battlefield deathly silent. It completed its task perfectly, leaving behind a battlefield full of death and destruction, heading towards its hiding place. The black figure reappeared in a secluded cave not far from the battlefield. The cave was dark and damp, the air stuffy mixed with the pungent smell of blood, creating an oppressive and uncomfortable atmosphere. The cave walls were covered in moss and dripping water, the sound of trickling water adding to the cave's cold and desolate impression. Inside the cave, piles of human corpses were stacked high, thick red blood soaking the cave floor, creating a gruesome and disgusting sight. The stench of rotting corpses assaulted the nose, churning the stomach and triggering nausea. This sight was silent proof of the secret mission being carried out by the black figure. The cave's darkness hid this horror from the outside world, making it the perfect place to perform a gruesome ritual. Slowly, the pitch-black color enveloping the figure's body began to fade, revealing ordinary human skin beneath. Its true form began to become clear as the darkness cloaking it disappeared. The figure was a handsome young man with silvery white hair that shimmered like silver in the cave's dim light and clear blue eyes that radiated intelligence and composure. His handsome face seemed starkly contrasted with the horrific scenery around him, creating a strange and unnatural impression. Yes, it was Tsubasa, our protagonist. He was carrying out his secret mission on this gruesome battlefield. His handsome face showed no expression of disgust or fear at the piles of corpses before him, instead displaying calm and focus. He appeared cold and emotionless, as if the horrific scenery around him did not affect him at all. After resting for a moment, Tsubasa wasted no time, and began stringing together hand seals with swift and precise movements. Each of his hand movements was so efficient and measured, indicating that he had mastered this technique perfectly. He had practiced repeatedly, ensuring every hand seal movement was performed accurately and without error. These hand seals were the key to activating his forbidden ninjutsu, Venom. Dark power began to radiate from Tsubasa's body, filling the cave with a frightening and oppressive aura. The air around Tsubasa felt increasingly cold and heavy, the pressure of dark energy emanating from his body, creating a chilling atmosphere. Mysterious black symbols and writings appeared from Tsubasa's palms, creeping and spreading across the cave's surface, then focusing on the pile of corpses in the center of the cave. The dark energy spread like living black veins, binding and controlling the corpses. The corpses began to tremble, then shrink and disappear one by one, sucked into Tsubasa's body like dust being vacuumed into a dust collector. This absorption process took place quickly and efficiently, leaving behind traces of dark energy swirling around Tsubasa. Pitch black light enveloped his body, growing stronger and stronger, as if absorbing all light and life around it. After all the corpses were fully absorbed, Tsubasa sat cross-legged in the middle of the cave, closed his eyes, and focused fully on his Venom ninjutsu. He entered a deep meditative state, allowing his body and soul to merge with the dark energy he had just acquired. He felt a strong energy flow into his body, merging with his chakra, and significantly increasing his strength. He felt the life energy and chakra power from the absorbed corpses rush into his body, merging with his soul, and significantly increasing his strength. This sensation was like a wave of power flooding his entire being, gradually strengthening his abilities. He felt his body getting stronger, his chakra getting larger, and his senses getting sharper. Moments passed in the oppressive silence of the cave. Only the sound of Tsubasa's breathing was heard amidst the cold and damp cave walls. This silence felt so intense, as if time had stopped moving. Suddenly, Tsubasa opened his eyes sharply, his eyes shining brightly with an intense blue light. Energy seemed to radiate from his eyes, signifying a major change within him. He felt new power surging within his body, making him feel more alive and vibrant than ever before. He stood, clenching his fists tightly, feeling the newfound strength flowing through him. Every fiber of his muscle felt stronger and more responsive, his chakra surged with new energy. Venom's power had seeped into him, transforming him into a stronger and more terrifying entity. "I should have done this sooner," Tsubasa murmured in satisfaction. A faint smile graced his lips, signifying the success of his mission this time. Corpses from great clans are indeed of different quality from ordinary ninja corpses. He acknowledged the difference in the quality of energy obtained from great clan corpses. The corpses from the Senju and Uchiha clans provided a far greater increase in power than he had anticipated. Yes, the corpses Tsubasa had just absorbed were not ordinary ninja corpses. They were the corpses of warriors from two prominent ninja clans, Senju and Uchiha. This battlefield was a silent witness to the fierce battle between these two clans, and Tsubasa took advantage of this situation for his mission. He knew that opportunities like this did not come twice, and he would not waste them. Senju and Uchiha. Tsubasa repeated the names of the two clans in his heart. He knew very well how special these corpses were. Absorbing corpses from ordinary ninja clans did provide a decent increase in strength, But absorbing corpses from great clans like Senju and Uchiha had a far more powerful effect, even beyond his expectations. However, Tsubasa realized that Venom would not grant him Kekkei Genkai powers like Sharingan or Wood Style, even though he absorbed corpses from the Uchiha and Senju clans. He understood the limitations of his forbidden ninjutsu very well. Venom was not a tool to steal Kekkei Genkai, but rather to enhance overall base strength. Venom's primary function was to absorb and combine corpses' brains to create a giant brain, the same principle as the large Tenseigan on the moon, and to absorb other body parts as nutrients to enhance overall physical, mental, and chakra strength. This was Venom's main purpose, comprehensive enhancement of base strength and the creation of a giant brain. He created Venom not to become a duplicate of other ninjas, but to become the best version of himself. Venom is not designed to steal Kekkei Genkai, Tsubasa thought. Its main focus is on enhancing base strength and creating a giant brain sealed within my body. This was Tsubasa's conscious choice when creating Venom. He had strong reasons why he limited Venom's abilities. He didn't want his body to be too mixed with various foreign genes, worried about losing control over his own identity. He wanted to remain Takagami Tsubasa, even while wielding the terrifying power of forbidden ninjutsu. His identity was the most precious thing, and he did not want to sacrifice it for power alone. After finishing absorbing all the nutrients from the Senju and Uchiha corpses, Tsubasa once again wrapped himself in a pitch-black cloak of Venom substance. The transformation into a black shadow figure occurred again, concealing his true identity. He returned to being a mysterious and terrifying entity. With incredible speed, he darted underground, leaving the cave, and heading towards the hidden valley that was his home. He couldn't wait to return and test the new power he had just acquired. Venom's power was the key to the Takagami clan's future, and he was determined to utilize it to its fullest potential. Chapter 6, Valley Kinship. Having glided through the tree roots far beneath the earth at lightning speed, Tsubasa arrived back in the hidden valley, his home. Underground travel with Venom always felt unique, the fluid and unhindered sensation giving a feeling of both calmness and thrill. The darkness of the earth became a boundless canvas for his movements, the subterranean world seeming to welcome him as part of itself. Tsubasa emerged silently beneath his simple wooden house, then immediately headed for the bathroom. The coppery scent of blood from the battlefield might still cling to his body, and he didn't want that smell disturbing the peace of the valley. He wanted to cleanse himself of all stains and the stench of death, returning to being the usual Tsubasa, the boy loved and respected by his family. After taking a warm bath and changing clothes, Tsubasa's stomach began to rumble loudly. The hard work of absorbing corpses on the battlefield had indeed drained his energy. He felt extraordinary fatigue, but also satisfaction at having successfully completed his mission. The newfound power he gained with Venom made him feel stronger and healthier. He quickly went to his small, simple kitchen and started cooking a simple meal. In no time, the aroma of cooking filled the wooden house, awakening his appetite. The scent of steaming rice, savory grilled fish, and warm miso soup, all of it was so tempting to his stomach. As Tsubasa finished devouring his meal, a gentle knock sounded on his door. He put down his empty bowl and got up to open it. He rose to open the door and was greeted by a sight that always made him smile, his 3 female subordinates standing before the door, each cradling their little angels. Their faces, though tired, were happy, the soft smiles etched on their lips, all of it was a sight that always made Tsubasa feel a sense of home. "Oh, look who's here!" Tsubasa exclaimed cheerfully, his eyes sparkling as he gazed at the 3 adorable babies. "Kotaro-kun, call me Big Brother Tsubasa." Tsubasa tried to coax Kotaro, Kyu's son, to call him that, while making funny and playful faces. He was charmed by the innocence and naivety of the babies, their presence always managed to warm his heart. Then he turned to Seiya, Benkai's son. "Seiya-kun, goo goo gaga." Tsubasa teased Seiya with cute hand gestures, making the baby giggle with delight. Seiya's tiny hands reached out towards Tsubasa, as if wanting to join in playing and joking with him. Finally, his gaze fell on Yumi, Jinga's daughter. "Yumi-chan, peekaboo." Tsubasa revealed his face from behind his hands, making Yumi laugh merrily and reach out to him. Yumi was always the most active and expressive among the 3 babies, her bright smile always managed to melt Tsubasa's heart. The 3 babies showed different reactions to Tsubasa's antics. Kotaro looked curious and tried to grab Tsubasa's hand, Seiya giggled and babbled happily, while Yumi laughed cheerfully and reached out her hand. The sight warmed Tsubasa's heart, his fatigue and loneliness instantly evaporating. The baby's presence was a source of new happiness and hope for the Takagami clan. While Tsubasa was busy teasing Yumi, Madoka, Jinga's wife, asked gently, "Tsubasa-sama, did you leave the valley this morning?" Madoka's question broke Tsubasa's absorption in playing with the babies. "Yes, why?" Tsubasa asked back, diverting his attention from Yumi and looking at Madoka. Did something happen while I was away? He was worried that there was a problem or danger lurking in the valley during his mission. Nothing at all, Tsubasa-sama, Madoka replied with a smile. It's just that Jinga and the others came knocking on your door this morning. Since there was no answer, they assumed Tsubasa-sama wasn't home. Madoka explained the reason for their visit, dispelling Tsubasa's worries. Oh, I see, Tsubasa nodded in understanding. Did they need something from me? He asked curiously, guessing what had made his three subordinates look for him this morning. Perhaps they wanted to ask for Tsubasa-sama's help regarding their ninjutsu training. Hotaru, Kyu's wife, chimed in, while cradling Kotaru. Hotaru guessed the reason for their husband's visit, recalling the burning spirit of ninjutsu training that had been in them lately. Oh. So they are training at the training grounds now? Tsubasa asked again, while returning to teasing the three babies, this time making strange noises that made them laugh. He was curious to see the progress of his three subordinates' ninjutsu training. Yes, that's right, Tsubasa-sama, Benkai's wife, replied, while cradling Seiya in her arms. Ayam confirmed Hotaru's guess, adding information about their husband's whereabouts. But, is it really alright for Tsubasa-sama to go alone without taking any subordinates when leaving the valley? Tsubasa-sama is still under 12 years old, right? Ayam looked worried about Tsubasa's safety. Her tone was full of concern and anxiety, reflecting her worry as a loyal subordinate. Tsubasa smiled hearing Ayam's worry. Yes, no need to worry. I'm strong enough now to protect myself, Tsubasa replied confidently. He wanted to reassure them that his strength had increased significantly, and he was capable of protecting himself from any danger. Besides, their presence as fathers is still very much needed by our three little angels. So, unless it's urgent, I won't give them missions, at least until these three children are 5 years old. Tsubasa deliberately emphasized the importance of parental roles for their young children. He wanted to ensure that the three babies received full affection and attention from their fathers, especially in their early stages of growth. But, that's precisely why they have been training even harder lately, Tsubasa-sama, Hotaru complained in a worried tone. It seems they realize their lack of strength and want to become stronger and more useful to help Tsubasa-sama. Hotaru revealed the worries of their husbands, who felt powerless and wanted to do more to help Tsubasa. Oh. Tsubasa fell silent for a moment, thinking. He understood the motivation of his three subordinates, but he also had a different view of their current priorities. But, in my opinion, the most important thing they should do right now is to accompany their children and prepare for their education, Tsubasa explained to the three women. He wanted to shift their focus from intensive ninjutsu training to their children's education. As long as we can still live peacefully and not wage war like other ninja clans, we must use this time to build a strong foundation for our next generation. Because the three of them are the future and successors of the new Takagami clan. Their education is very important. Tsubasa explained his long-term vision, emphasizing the importance of education for the survival and progress of the Takagami clan. He wanted the next generation of their clan to be not only physically strong, but also intelligent and knowledgeable. Tsubasa-sama is truly very wise, Hotaru exclaimed in a tone of admiration and sincerity after hearing Tsubasa's explanation. I am so grateful to follow a leader like you. Hotaru felt deep admiration and respect for Tsubasa, realizing his extraordinary leadership and wisdom. Me too. And me too. Ayam and Madoka chimed in unison, showing their respect and loyalty to Tsubasa. They all felt fortunate to have a young leader like Tsubasa, who was not only strong and intelligent, but also wise and cared about their well-being. After playing and chatting with the three adorable babies for a while, Tsubasa finally decided to go to the training grounds. He felt the need to meet his three subordinates and provide training guidance to them. The three babies stared at him with teary eyes as Tsubasa said goodbye, making Tsubasa's heart soften slightly. However, he knew he had to meet his subordinates and provide training guidance to them. He promised himself to return soon and continue playing with the babies after he was done with his business. Arriving at the training grounds, Tsubasa immediately noticed his three subordinates who were focused on training their respective ninjutsu. The sound of wind whistling, earth rumbling, and water splashing filled the air, indicating the intensity of their training. Kia looked serious, training his futon ninjutsu. After stringing together several hand seals quickly, gusts of wind in the shape of a tornado suddenly appeared around him, creating a strong defensive shield. The wind was capable of blowing away anything that was nearby, showing the power of the futon ninjutsu that Kia had mastered. He continued to train chakra control and increase the power of his ninjutsu, determined to become stronger and more useful to the Takagami clan. Benkai, with his sturdy body, trained his earth-style ninjutsu. The ground in front of him began to tremble and rise, forming a solid and thick earth wall. Then, Benkai punched the earth wall with his hands covered in earth gloves. His fist struck the earth with tremendous force, creating large cracks in the earth wall. His movements reminded Tsubasa of earthbenders in Avatar, powerful and sturdy. He continued to train his physical strength and develop his earth-style ninjutsu, determined to become a protective shield for the Takagami clan. Jinga trained his water-style ninjutsu in a unique style. Water from the small river near the training grounds was controlled by his water-style chakra, forming thin water discs that spun at high speed. Jinga threw the water discs at wooden targets in the distance. The water discs shot sharply and easily cleaved the wooden targets into several pieces. Jinga's water-style ninjutsu reminded Tsubasa of Krillin's Keen's Nin Dragon Ball, deadly and effective. He continued to train his chakra control and develop his water-style ninjutsu, determined to become a deadly weapon for the Takagami clan. All the ninjutsu being trained by his three subordinates were new ninjutsu that Tsubasa had created in the past year after he absorbed several ninja brains and combined them into his giant brain. The giant brain became a source of unlimited inspiration and innovation for Tsubasa, allowing him to create various new ninjutsu that had never existed before. With the giant brain, Tsubasa's level of genius in ninjutsu development and scientific research continued to increase rapidly. He was able to create various new ninjutsu with different elements, tailored to the abilities and fighting styles of each of his subordinates. He utilized his knowledge from his two previous lives and the wisdom gained from the ninja brains he absorbed to create innovative and effective ninjutsu. After observing his three subordinates training in silence for a while, Tsubasa finally revealed his presence. "Good job, you three!" Tsubasa exclaimed in a praising tone, startling his three subordinates and making them stop training. Tsubasa's voice of praise broke the silence of the training grounds, providing additional spirit and motivation for his three subordinates. "Tsubasa-sama!" Kya, Benkai, and Jinga exclaimed in unison, their faces showing respect and joy at the arrival of their young lord. Tsubasa approached Kya, then gave some pointers to improve the effectiveness of his photon ninjutsu. "Kya, try focusing more chakra in the center of the tornado, it will make it denser and harder to penetrate," Tsubasa advised. "And try reducing the chakra use to maintain the tornado's shape, it will conserve your chakra." He gave specific and practical advice, based on his understanding of photon ninjutsu and Kya's abilities. Then, Tsubasa turned to Benkai and gave advice for his earth-style ninjutsu. "Benkai, the power of your punches is already extraordinary, but try to increase the speed of your hand movements when coating your fists with earth gloves. It will make your attacks harder to avoid," Tsubasa said. "And don't just focus on attack, try to develop earth-style ninjutsu for defense as well, like creating stronger earth shields or walls." He encouraged Benkai to develop his ninjutsu comprehensively, not only focusing on attack but also defense. Finally, Tsubasa gave pointers for Jinga's water-style ninjutsu. "Jinga, your water discs are already very sharp, but try to increase their rotation speed even further. That will increase their cutting power," Tsubasa said. "And try varying the shape of your water discs, not just thin discs, try making water discs that are larger or smaller, adjust to the battle situation." He encouraged Jinga to be creative and further develop his ninjutsu, adapting to various combat situations they might face. The three subordinates listened to Tsubasa's instructions attentively, digesting every word spoken by their young lord. They appreciated Tsubasa's guidance and were determined to implement his advice in their training. After Tsubasa finished giving pointers, they immediately returned to training, trying to apply the advice Tsubasa had given to their ninjutsu. Their training spirit rekindled, inspired by the guidance and praise from their young lord. After the ninjutsu training session, Tsubasa repeated a similar explanation to what he had conveyed to their wives earlier. He emphasized the importance of their children's education and their role as fathers in their children's development. He wanted these new fathers to realize their responsibilities as parents and educators for the next generation of the Takagami clan. Kya, Benkai, and Jinga listened to Tsubasa's explanation with full attention and understanding. They realized that Tsubasa was not only their leader, but also a mentor and friend to them all. They felt fortunate to have a leader like Tsubasa, who thought not only about the clan's strength, but also the well-being and future of their families. They were grateful for Tsubasa's concern for their families and promised to pay more attention to their children's education, as Tsubasa expected. They were determined to be good fathers and role models for their children, as well as strong and loyal ninjas to the Takagami clan. After training was over and the meaningful conversation ended, the four of them walked home together, realizing that it was almost night. Physical and mental fatigue after a day of activity felt heavy in their bodies, but their hearts were filled with satisfaction and happiness. They felt they had spent a productive and meaningful day, building the Takagami clan step by step. And so began Tsubasa's busy but meaningful daily activities, days filled with training, research, and togetherness with his small family in the Hidden Valley. Although their lives were still full of challenges and uncertainties, they remained optimistic and enthusiastic about the future, building new hope amidst the war-torn ninja world. Chapter 7, Woods of Fate. The darkness of Venom enveloped Tsubasa once more, plunging him deep into the earth. This time, his movements felt far smoother and faster. Venom slid through the earth with extraordinary agility, indicating a significant increase in control and power. Tsubasa felt every cell in his body resonating with Venom's dark power, creating a perfect synergy between body and forbidden ninjutsu. He was as if one with the earth itself, moving freely and unhindered beneath the surface. This sensation always brought him peace and tranquility, regardless of the chaos and danger of the ninja world above. In the earth's darkness, he found shelter and freedom, a place where he could be himself without worrying about the threats and intrigues of the outside world. Tsubasa's goal this time wasn't specifically directed. He simply wanted to explore the outside world, expanding his knowledge of this dangerous shinobi world. He wanted to see with his own eyes the diversity and wonders of the ninja world, understanding the political landscape and powers hidden behind the scenes. This exploration was part of his preparation for the future of the Takagami clan, strengthening the foundation of knowledge and experience he would need to lead his clan to prosperity. In his mind, a small hope flickered to find clues about the existence of the tailed beast, tailed monsters possessing immense power. Information about the tailed beast might be useful in the future, Tsubasa thought. The tailed beast's power was one of the greatest forces in the ninja world, and mastering or at least understanding their power could provide significant strategic advantages for the Takagami clan. He knew that searching for the tailed beast was a dangerous and difficult mission, but he couldn't ignore the potential power they possessed. As Venom continued to move underground, Tsubasa sensed changes in the soil texture and surrounding temperature. These differences indicated environmental changes on the surface. This underground journey could give him an overview of the outside world's topography and climate. From dry sandy soil to moist and nutrient-rich humus, from cold mountain temperatures to warm lowland temperatures. This underground journey gave Tsubasa a glimpse into the diversity of the world above. He sensed the transitions of different ecosystems, from cold pine forests to humid tropical rainforests, all of which stretched out above his head. This ninja world turned out to be far wider and more complex than he had ever imagined. After a while, Venom finally resurfaced, bringing Tsubasa out of the earth's belly in the middle of a dense forest. He felt Venom's movement slow down and stop, then his body was lifted to the surface, feeling the touch of air and sunlight again. The fresh forest air immediately greeted him, filling his lungs with oxygen. The sense of damp soil, green leaves, and forest flowers pierced his nose, creating a refreshing sensation. He took a deep breath, feeling the life energy of the forest flowing into him. Tsubasa decided to exit Venom and rest for a moment under the shade of a towering tree. He lay down on the soft green grass, letting his body rest after the long journey. Sunlight filtering through the gaps in the foliage created soothing patterns of light and shadow around him. The sound of a small river flowing swiftly and the chirping of forest birds accompanied his rest, creating a peaceful and calming atmosphere. He closed his eyes, letting the sounds of nature seep into him, soothing his tired mind and soul. While enjoying the forest's tranquility, Tsubasa's ears caught the sound of children's voices coming from not far from where he was resting. The voices sounded faint, but clear enough to pique his curiosity. Curiosity drove him to find out the source of the sound. With careful and silent movements, Tsubasa moved closer to the source of the conversation. He moved like a ghost, utilizing shadows and trees as camouflage, ensuring his presence remained undetected. From behind the leaves of a bush, Tsubasa saw a scene that caught his attention. Two small boys stood facing each other on the bank of a small river that bisected the forest. The atmosphere between them seemed tense, as if a fierce debate was underway. Their faces were strained and serious, contrasting with the innocence and naivety of children their age. One of the boys, who had spiky dark hair, stood upright with a serious and slightly angry facial expression. The aura radiating from his body felt strong and dominant, even though he was still very young. His eyes flashed with high confidence, as if he was completely sure of his opinion. The other boy, who had mushroom-like dark hair, had a gentler face, but his gaze held a strong and unyielding determination. He stood in a defiant stance, showing no fear or trepidation whatsoever. Tsubasa observed the appearances of the two boys in more detail. The spiky-haired boy had sharp black eyes and a strong aura. Tsubasa felt a strange familiarity with his appearance. There was something in his gaze and posture that felt familiar, as if he had seen it somewhere before. Meanwhile, the mushroom-haired boy had a gentler face, but behind the gentleness, Tsubasa saw a hidden steel resolve in his eyes. The appearances of both boys felt familiar, as if he had seen them before. However, the memory was still vague and not fully clear in his mind. Suddenly, a flash of memory crossed Tsubasa's mind. The scene of two small boys talking by the riverbank felt so familiar, like a scene he had seen in one of the Naruto anime episodes he watched in his previous life. His heart began to pound, a strong premonition beginning to haunt him. Tsubasa was beginning to realize who the two little boys in front of him actually were. Fragments of memories from his previous life began to piece themselves together in his mind, forming an increasingly clear and terrifying picture. No way. Could they be young Madara and Hashirama? Tsubasa thought with extraordinary shock. His brain struggled to process the information he had just received. His vision blurred for a moment, and he had to take a deep breath to calm himself. If his guess was correct, then he had met two of the most legendary and influential figures in the history of the ninja world, Senju Hashirama and Madara Uchiha, in their childhood. This encounter felt like a dream, like fate had brought him to this world to witness the beginnings of ninja legends. He realized how special this moment was, a rare opportunity that might never happen again. The debate between the two little boys became clearer in Tsubasa's ears, confirming his guess. Their raised voices and their distinctive tones of speech further strengthened his conviction. "I told you mine went the furthest," exclaimed the spiky-haired boy in a raised voice, full of confidence. His firm and confident tone reminded Tsubasa of the arrogant and ambitious adult Madara. "No. Mine went further just now." "You cheated," replied the mushroom-haired boy in a displeased tone, his face flushed with annoyance. His gentle but firm tone of voice reminded Tsubasa of the somewhat goofy and passionate adult Hashirama. Tsubasa was dumbfounded to hear the content of the two little boys' debate. It turned out, what they were arguing about so fiercely was the distance of their urine streams. This childish scene was in stark contrast to their future image as legendary ninjas who would shake the shinobi world. The irony and humor of this scene made him smile wryly. Tsubasa couldn't help but smile at the scene before him. The scene in front of him felt both funny and extraordinary. Seeing young Madara and Hashirama arguing about something so trivial, he felt as if he was witnessing history being etched before his very eyes. He was reminded of the story of young Madara and Hashirama's childhood filled with fierce rivalry but also close friendship. Their childhood rivalry was what later drove them to become the strongest ninjas of their era. Their friendship was the foundation for the creation of Hidden Leaf Village, the first ninja village that became a symbol of peace and unity in the shinobi world. Tsubasa thought, this was a rare opportunity that might never happen again. Meeting young Madara and Hashirama, two important figures in the history of the ninja world, and perhaps even becoming friends with them. Who knew, this friendship could change the history of the shinobi world in the future. He realized the immense potential of this meeting, an opportunity to influence the future of the ninja world. Without hesitation, Tsubasa decided to try approaching the two little boys. However, he didn't want to approach them directly and suddenly, as that might make them suspicious and scared. He had to be careful and find a way to approach them naturally, building their trust slowly. Tsubasa took a deep breath, preparing himself to interact with the two future legends of the ninja world. He emerged from his hiding place behind the bushes and walked slowly towards the two little boys with a friendly and non-threatening facial expression. He tried to present himself as a harmless figure. Young Madara and Hashirama were startled by Tsubasa's sudden appearance. They both turned quickly and stared at Tsubasa warily and slightly suspiciously. Their sharp eyes, full of ninja instincts, assessed Tsubasa intently, searching for signs of danger or ill intent. Their eyes scanned Tsubasa's appearance from head to toe, judging whether this white-haired young man was friend or foe. They sensed a faint aura of power from Tsubasa, realizing that he was no ordinary boy. Tsubasa tried to smile as sincerely as possible and raised both his hands up, showing that he was not carrying any weapons and had no malicious intent. He wanted to dispel their suspicion and show that he came in peace. "Hi. Excuse me," Tsubasa greeted in a polite tone, pretending to be confused. "I'm looking for directions to the nearest village. Do you know the way?" He hoped this lie could be a good conversation starter, breaking the tense atmosphere and building a bridge of communication with them. Young Madara and Hashirama exchanged glances for a moment, as if communicating wordlessly, assessing the situation and deciding whether to trust Tsubasa or not. Their innocent yet sharp eyes analyzed every detail of the white-haired youth before them. After a few seconds, young Hashirama, who seemed more friendly and open, replied in a hesitant tone, "Village. What village are you referring to?" The frown on his forehead indicated confusion. Village. Hidden Leaf Village." Tsubasa replied a bit stammering, mentioning the name of the village that first crossed his mind. "Hidden Leaf Village? Never heard of it." Young Madara retorted in a curt and disbelieving tone. Madara's blunt reply made Tsubasa flinch slightly. Madara's sharp and piercing gaze made him feel a bit nervous, but he tried to remain calm and not show his nervousness. Oops. Wrong village name, Tsubasa thought inwardly, feeling a bit regretful. Mentioning the name Hidden Leaf Village was clearly a big mistake that could cause a chain reaction in this world's future. He should have been more careful and thought of another village name that was more relevant to this era. However, young Madara's curt reaction actually became an unexpected opening for Tsubasa to initiate further conversation. This small mistake actually opened up opportunities for him to get closer to these two young legends. Oh. Really? Sorry, I'm really lost and don't know much about this area, Tsubasa said while scratching his head in an awkward gesture, trying to look harmless and innocent in the eyes of the two little boys. This is my first time coming to this area. He hoped his gestures and words could convince them of his ignorance, dispelling their suspicion and building trust. Young Hashirama, who had a gentler and more trusting heart, seemed to soften slightly seeing Tsubasa's innocent expression. A small smile began to grace his lips, dispelling the tension in his face. It's okay, young Hashirama said in a friendlier tone. This area is indeed a bit confusing if you're not used to it. He showed understanding and friendliness, making Tsubasa feel a bit relieved. My name is Hashirama, young Hashirama continued, introducing himself, extending his hand towards Tsubasa with a friendly smile. And this is Madara, Hashirama pointed to his friend who still wore a suspicious face. Tsubasa gladly accepted Hashirama's handshake, shaking it firmly. Nice to meet you, Hashirama-kun, Madara-kun. My name is Tsubasa, Tsubasa replied, introducing himself with a wide smile. He returned Hashirama's smile sincerely, trying to create a good impression and build a positive relationship with the two boys. Thank you for being willing to help me. So, you're really lost? Young Hashirama asked once more, confirming Tsubasa's confusion. He wanted to make sure that Tsubasa truly needed their help, and was not a bad person pretending to be lost. Yes, that's absolutely right, Tsubasa replied while nodding. I'm looking for the nearest village to rest, fill my stomach, and find supplies. He explained his purpose honestly and simply, hoping to fully win their trust. Young Hashirama thought for a moment, then said in a tone offering sincere help, in that case, how about we help? We know the paths around this forest. We can take you to the nearest village. He offered help without hesitation, showing his kind heart and sense of responsibility to help those in need. Really? Of course. I would be very grateful, exclaimed Tsubasa with a feigned expression of joy and relief. In his heart, he was grateful that his plan to approach young Madara and Hashirama was going smoothly. He felt excited and optimistic about the potential of their future friendship. Young Madara snorted cynically hearing Hashirama's offer, but he didn't directly refuse. He just turned his face away with a displeased expression, but still followed Hashirama's steps as he began walking, guiding Tsubasa. And so began the unexpected introduction between Tsubasa and young Madara and Hashirama. A meeting that started with a small lie about directions, but paved the way for a friendship that might change the destiny of the shinobi world in the future. The fate of the ninja world now stood at a crossroads, and Tsubasa, unknowingly, had become an important part of that change. Chapter 8, Silent Infiltration. A year had passed since Tsubasa's first encounter with young Madara and Hashirama by the river bank. Over that year, Tsubasa's life was filled with various activities aimed at increasing his strength and developing their valley. He continued to travel through the regions of the ninja world, honing Venom and his new ninjutsu, as well as guiding his subordinates. This routine had become an inseparable part of his life, building discipline and perseverance within him. The Hidden Valley flourished under Tsubasa's leadership. The wooden houses became sturdier and more comfortable, the vegetable gardens and rice fields yielded abundant harvests, and the chicken and goat livestock thrived. Life in the valley grew increasingly prosperous and secure, thanks to Tsubasa's hard work and vision. The laughter of the children, now growing bigger, once again filled the valley, the sound of the rushing river, and the songs of forest birds created a beautiful and calming harmony of life. The valley had truly become a safe and prosperous haven for Tsubasa and his 6 subordinates along with their new families. They lived harmoniously and supported each other, building a strong and independent community, apart from the violence and chaos of the ninja world outside. Every morning, they woke with new spirit, ready to work and contribute to the progress of the valley, creating a better future for themselves and the next generation. Tsubasa himself also experienced significant progress in controlling Venom and his new ninjutsu created with the help of the giant brain. His power continued to grow rapidly, surpassing his own expectations and hopes. He felt Venom increasingly merge with him, becoming an inseparable part of his being. He became more proficient at using Venom to move quickly underground, absorb chakra and nutrients from corpses, and control the black entities that could manipulate other people's bodies. Venom's diverse and complex abilities gave Tsubasa flexibility and adaptability in various combat situations. He continued to experiment and develop Venom, seeking ways to maximize its potential and create even more deadly new techniques. The elemental ninjutsu he taught his subordinates also continued to develop and strengthen, showing the great potential of the giant brain. Kya, Benkai, and Jinga increasingly mastered their respective ninjutsu, showing remarkable progress in their training. Every time Tsubasa saw them training diligently, he felt proud and optimistic about the future of the Takagami clan. He knew that with hard work and his guidance, they would become strong and reliable ninjas, capable of protecting the valley and their families from any danger. However, amidst all the busyness and progress, Tsubasa never forgot his primary goal for this year, to seek information about the tailed beast. He realized that the power of the tailed beast was essential to realize his ambitions in this dangerous shinobi world. The tailed beast were the key to achieving unmatched power, to protect the Takagami clan and create a more peaceful and prosperous world. Therefore, once again, Tsubasa decided to leave the valley, using Venom to journey far. This time, his destination was a region believed to hold traces of the tailed beast, based on vague information he had heard from various sources. This information was widespread among merchants and travelers, legends hidden behind the veil of the ninja world's mysteries. On his journey, Tsubasa decided to disguise himself as a traveling merchant. He donned simple clothing, carried a woven basket filled with a few merchandise items, and slightly altered his appearance to avoid being too conspicuous. This disguise was a clever strategy to conceal his true identity and make it easier for him to interact with people without arousing suspicion. He moved from place to place, posing as an ordinary person seeking a livelihood, observing and listening carefully for any information that might be useful to him. Tsubasa visited various towns and villages, from fishing settlements by the coast to bustling trading cities in the plains. He journeyed from place to place, peddling his wares, and listening to folk tales and ancient legends that might be related to the tailed beast. Every interaction, every conversation, he utilized to seek clues and information that might bring him closer to his goal. He also spread his small information network, enlisting the help of other merchants and travelers to find out if there was any news or strange occurrences related to the chakra power of large monsters. He built relationships with various people, creating eyes and ears throughout the ninja world, expanding the reach of his search and increasing his chances of success. Several weeks passed without significant results. The information Tsubasa obtained was still in the form of rumors and vague stories, without concrete evidence pointing to the existence of the tailed beast. Feelings of frustration and despair began to haunt him. Would his search this time be in vain? Had he gone in the wrong direction and wasted his time? However, Tsubasa did not give up. He knew that finding the tailed beast was not an easy task. He continued his search diligently, following every small clue and listening to every story that might contain valuable information. His perseverance and patience were his main weapons in facing this difficulty. He was confident that with persistence and thoroughness, he would find what he was looking for. One day, while Tsubasa was in a bustling port city, he stopped at a tavern to rest and fill his stomach. The tavern was crowded with people from all walks of life, from merchants and sailors to ninjas and wanderers. The sound of chatter filled the tavern room, creating a lively and vibrant atmosphere. The aroma of sake and grilled food mingled in the air, creating a typical port tavern ambience. Tsubasa ordered a warm drink and sat in a corner of the tavern, listening to the conversations of people around him. His trained ears suddenly caught the conversation of several men at the next table that caught his attention. They were talking about a ninja clan that had recently been seen active in the area around the port city. Their tone of voice was hushed, as if afraid of being overheard, creating an aura of mystery and secrecy. The Karasuma clan. They suddenly appeared and caused quite a stir in this town, one of the men at the table whispered, as if afraid of being overheard. His tone was full of anxiety and uncertainty, creating a tense atmosphere around their table. I heard they are very strong and mysterious, another man chimed in with a curious tone. No one knows what their real purpose is. Some say they are looking for something around here. Questions and speculations began to arise, creating an increasingly burning mystery. The name Karasuma immediately jolted Tsubasa's attention. Karasuma clan. The name sounded familiar and evoked bad memories in his mind. He was again reminded of the sham engagement plan with the Karasuma clan, the cunning trap that was one of the main factors in the Takagami clan's destruction. The anger and resentment that had been buried in his heart rekindled, ready to explode at any moment. Tsubasa's heart pounded, his blood boiled with renewed anger and resentment. The sudden appearance of the Karasuma clan in this area felt too suspicious. Tsubasa sensed that there was something important behind their arrival. A bad premonition began to haunt him. He was sure that the Karasuma clan did not come to this city without a clear reason. Without hesitation, Tsubasa decided to find out more about the Karasuma clan and their purpose. He approached the table where those men were sitting, pretending to be interested in their conversation. He hid his anger and resentment behind the mask of friendliness and innocence. "Excuse me, gentlemen," Tsubasa greeted in a friendly and polite tone, hiding the anger and resentment raging in his heart. "What are you talking about? It sounds very interesting." He put on an expression of curiosity and interest, hoping to blend in with them and get the information he needed. The men turned to Tsubasa, slightly startled by his sudden appearance. They exchanged glances for a moment, assessing whether this foreign young man could be trusted or not. Their gazes scrutinized Tsubasa from head to toe, finding out if he had any hidden intentions. "Oh, it's nothing, young man," one of the men at the table replied dismissively. "Just talking about the Karasuma clan, who are currently a hot topic in this town." His tone was flat and unfriendly, as if not wanting to involve Tsubasa in their conversation. "Karasuma clan? What clan is that?" Tsubasa asked, feigning ignorance, putting on an innocent and curious expression. "This is the first time I've heard of them. Are they a famous ninja clan?" He tried to elicit information from them, pretending to be ignorant so they wouldn't be suspicious and would be willing to tell him more. The man chuckled hearing Tsubasa's question. "You really don't know? The Karasuma clan is a fairly well-known ninja clan in the northern region," the man explained in a slightly arrogant tone. "They are a powerful and influential ninja clan there. But for some reason, they suddenly moved their entire clan to a small port town like this. Very strange, isn't it?" He expressed his surprise and suspicion towards the Karasuma clan's appearance in this town. Tsubasa listened intently to every piece of information the man gave, recording every detail in his sharp memory. He tried not to appear too interested or suspicious, keeping his expression neutral and friendly. However, in his heart, the determination to investigate the Karasuma clan grew stronger. His instincts told him that this clan might be related to his search for the tailed beast. His sharp ninja intuition sensed something was wrong with the Karasuma clan's movements, as if they were harboring a dark secret hidden deep within. After feeling he had gathered enough information from the brief conversation, Tsubasa thanked the men at the tavern and immediately left the place. His footsteps were quick and firm, his mind already filled with plans to investigate the Karasuma clan further. He rented a room at a nearby inn, locked himself in the silence of the room, and began to formulate a plan to investigate the Karasuma clan more deeply. The simple inn room became his temporary headquarters, a place where he formulated strategies and prepared himself to face any danger that might lie ahead. That night, under the pale moon hanging in the sky, Tsubasa decided to move. He activated Venom, letting the darkness envelop his body, and slipped out of the inn without making a sound. With Venom, Tsubasa moved quickly and stealthily towards the area believed to be the Karasuma clan's base, based on the information he obtained from the tavern. He was determined to uncover the mystery behind the Karasuma clan and find out their purpose in moving their base to this city. Curiosity and suspicion drove him to take risks, even though he realized the danger that might await him. Tsubasa felt a bad premonition haunting him, but he still moved forward with burning determination. Resentment and curiosity were the fuel that drove him to keep going, even though he knew he was walking into the enemy's lair. He would not let his past continue to haunt him. He would face the Karasuma clan and find out the truth hidden behind their movements. As Venom moved underground, Tsubasa prepared himself for the worst possible scenarios. He was ready to face whatever awaited him at the Karasuma clan's base. He sharpened his ninja instincts, increased his vigilance, and prepared various strategies to face an unknown enemy. Unbeknownst to him, Tsubasa was getting closer and closer to the Karasuma clan's territory, a place that would reveal the dark secrets of his past and change his destiny forever. He did not know what he would find there, but he was sure that there was something suspicious behind the Karasuma clan's sudden relocation. His resolve was firm, he would not back down and would face whatever stood in his way. With steadfast determination, Tsubasa continued forward, deeper and deeper into enemy territory. His resolve was strengthened by the darkness of the night that veiled his actions. The night wind blew coldly, as if warning Tsubasa of the danger lurking ahead. The rustling wind through the trees sounded like mysterious whispers, adding to the night's chilling impression. However, Tsubasa did not flinch, he continued to move forward, guided by his ninja instincts. He would not let fear control him, his determination to uncover the truth was far stronger than any fear. This night would be a long and eventful night for Tsubasa. This night would test his courage and determination, challenging him to face his past and determine the direction of his future. He did not know that at the Karasuma clan's base, he would find something more terrifying than he had ever imagined. And in the darkness of the night, Tsubasa got closer and closer to the gates of hell, unaware of what awaited him there. His footsteps were steady and without hesitation, he walked towards his destiny, towards an encounter that would change his life forever. His destiny as the successor of the Takagami clan would be tested, and he had to prove that he was worthy of bearing the name of that destroyed clan. Chapter 9, Prison of Nightmares. Venom moved agilely underground, carrying Tsubasa, deftly avoiding sensors and traps that might have been set up by the Karasuma clan. Every movement of Venom felt increasingly unified with Tsubasa's will, as if this forbidden ninjutsu was an extension of his own body. In the Earth's darkness, Venom was not just a tool, but became a protective blanket and an obedient vehicle. Tsubasa felt Venom adapt to the surrounding environment. In the deeper layers of the Earth, its movement became smoother and faster. His control over this ninjutsu now became increasingly steady with the passage of time and intense training. After a while that felt like an eternity in the darkness, Venom finally reached an area that looked like a large building complex. High walls towered around it, showing the ambition of this clan. Tsubasa slowed his movements. His caution increased many times over. He didn't want the slightest vibration to arouse suspicion. In a place like this, a small mistake could be fatal. He decided to stop in a safe place underground, right beneath the walls of the Karasuma clan's headquarters. Tsubasa's head slowly emerged to the surface of the earth, Venom still faithfully encircling his body like a jet-black cloak that merged with the shadows. He observed the situation around him with eagle eyes. Every detail was noted, the positions of guards, patrol patterns, weak points that might be exploited. The Karasuma clan's headquarters looked very magnificent and sturdy, radiating an aura of strength and wealth from a clan that had existed for generations. Large buildings towered high behind the solid walls, adorned with luxurious ornaments and the arrogant symbols of the Karasuma clan. The symbol of a black raven with glowing red eyes was displayed everywhere, a reminder of this clan's cruelty and ambition. Security around the headquarters was visibly very tight. Numerous Karasuma ninjas guarded observation posts scattered along the walls and on the rooftops of buildings. They looked alert and on guard, their every movement monitored and coordinated. This was not a fortress easily breached. Tsubasa felt the increasing pressure. Tsubasa realized that infiltrating the Karasuma clan's headquarters directly would be very risky and dangerous, even with Venom. Their defenses were too strong, and he did not want to be reckless and jeopardize his mission. His main goal was to obtain information, not to die in vain in an unbalanced battle. He had to find a way to infiltrate undetected, find the information he needed, and get out alive. This was a mission that required intelligence and patience, not just strength. After thinking for a moment, weighing all available options, Tsubasa decided to utilize Venom's advantage and infiltrate the Karasuma clan's headquarters through a less guarded underground route. This was the only most sensible and safest way to infiltrate a place that seemed impossible to penetrate from the surface. The air around him felt cold and piercing, reminding him of the danger lurking in every corner of the space. Tsubasa fully activated Venom and began to move slowly downwards, penetrating the earth beneath the base walls. His movements were very careful, avoiding building structures and wall foundations to prevent damage or noise that could attract the guards' attention. Every particle of soil he passed through felt cold and damp. He imagined the tree roots spreading around him, feeling the life beneath the earth's surface that contrasted with the grandeur above. The deeper Venom penetrated the earth, the more Tsubasa felt the darkness and humidity of the soil increase. The air around him became colder and stuffier, indicating that he was moving further away from the surface and entering the depths beneath the Karasuma clan's headquarters. The scent of damp soil and rocks grew stronger, replacing the fresh air above. He felt like he was entering another world, a secret world beneath the visible one. After feeling deep enough, Venom finally reached a dark and cold underground room. Tsubasa deactivated Venom mode and observed his surroundings. The darkness of this room was almost absolute, lit only by a dim, faint light coming from somewhere unseen. The humidity of the air immediately pricked his skin, and a musty smell stung his nose. The room looked like an underground prison, with iron cells lined up along the walls. The air in the room smelled stale and rotten, offensive to Tsubasa's nose, indicating that this place was rarely cleaned and perhaps held dark tales. Rusty iron chains hung in some cells, adding to the eerie impression of this place. A prison? Tsubasa thought, a sudden curiosity arising. Why would the Karasuma clan have a prison beneath their headquarters? This question tickled his mind. There was something hidden here, a dark secret deliberately buried underground. This curiosity drove Tsubasa to explore the dungeon and find out what the Karasuma clan was hiding in this remote place. Tsubasa moved cautiously along the prison corridor, paying attention to every cell and corner of the room. His steps were light and silent, like shadows dancing in the darkness. He walked along a long corridor that felt like a labyrinth, each cell looking as sinister as the last. The sound of his soft footsteps echoed in the silent prison corridor, adding to the eerie impression of the place. This silence was not ordinary silence, but a heavy and oppressive silence, as if this prison absorbed all sounds and hope. The dim torchlight on the corridor walls was only able to illuminate a small portion of the room, leaving most of the prison in deep darkness. Shadows danced on the walls, creating illusions of terrifying shapes lurking behind the iron bars. As he passed one of the prison cells, Tsubasa's eyes were fixed on a figure lying weakly inside the cell. The figure looked very thin and pale, with tattered clothes and long, tangled hair covering his face. His body was curled up in a corner of the cell, as if trying to seek shelter from the chilling cold and darkness. Tsubasa approached the cell and observed the figure more closely. Tsubasa's heart pounded, he felt a strange and familiar feeling as he looked at the figure. There was something in his posture, in the aura of sadness emanating from him, that caught his attention. The figure slowly raised his head, turning towards Tsubasa. The figure's gaunt and dirty face met Tsubasa's eyes. Behind the dirt and hair covering his face, there was something familiar, something that touched the depths of his heart. Tsubasa was shocked, his eyes widened, he couldn't believe what he was seeing. "Brother." Tsubasa whispered softly, almost inaudibly. His voice caught in his throat, between hope and disbelief. The figure in the cell was Takagami Azura, his older brother in this life. The brother he thought had been lost for a long time, perhaps had died in the Karasuma clan's attack. Finding Azura alive, in a place like this, was an unimaginable shock. Tsubasa truly did not expect to find his brother still alive, and in such a miserable condition. Azura looked very weak and suffering, like a prisoner who had been tortured and neglected for a long time. An aura of despair radiated strongly from his fragile body. Azura's legs and arms appeared to be stumps, burn marks and lacerations were clearly visible all over his body. Azura's eyes also appeared to have been gouged out, leaving horrifying empty sockets staring straight ahead but seeing nothing. The Karasuma clan's cruelty was clearly etched on his brother's body. Tsubasa could not hold back his tears as he saw his brother's wretched condition. He felt his heart shatter into pieces seeing Azura's suffering. Anger and sadness mixed together in his chest. The Karasuma clan. They are truly cruel and inhumane, Tsubasa thought with burning rage. He swore to avenge his brother's suffering and the destruction of his clan. This vengeance would become the fuel for his struggle, the motivation to destroy the Karasuma clan to its roots. However, before that, he had to save his brother and get him out of this terrible prison. Vengeance could wait, but his brother's life could not. Tsubasa immediately entered the prison cell in Venom mode. "Brother, it's me, Tsubasa," Tsubasa said softly, trying to rouse Azura from his despair. His voice was full of affection and worry. He hoped Azura still recognized him, that their sibling bond had not been completely severed by time and suffering. Azura stared at Tsubasa with a blank and confused gaze, as if not recognizing his own younger brother. His empty eyes stared at Tsubasa unfocused, as if looking through him. "Tsubasa." Azura murmured faintly, his voice hoarse and weak, almost inaudible. Tsubasa helped Azura sit up. He felt his brother's body was very thin and fragile, just skin and bones. The touch of Azura's skin felt cold and clammy, like a living corpse. While helping Azura, Tsubasa observed his brother's physical condition in more detail. Every wound, every mark of torture, was clearly etched on Azura's body. He was even more shocked and horrified to see Azura's utterly wretched condition. The wounds on Azura's body looked uncared for and infected, smelling rotten and pungent. This stench stung his nose, making him nauseous and angry. Tsubasa could no longer hold back his tears. He felt his heart truly break seeing his brother's suffering. Tears flowed freely down his cheeks, mixed with anger and determination to avenge him. The Karasuma clan. They are truly barbaric. Tsubasa vowed to avenge all their cruel deeds. However, right now, the most important thing was to save his brother. Vengeance must wait. Azura's safety was the top priority. Tsubasa separated part of Venom and covered Azura's body with the black layer. Venom would carry Azura and help him out of this place. Tsubasa was determined to take his brother back to the valley and give him the best care he could provide. Revenge and anger had to wait. Azura's safety was the main priority at this moment. He would make sure Azura survived, and then, with his brother by his side, they would face the Karasuma clan together, demanding justice and avenging all the suffering they had endured. As Tsubasa was about to carry Azura out of his cell, his eyes inadvertently fell on the cell next to Azura's. In that dark cell, Tsubasa saw two mounds of cloth that looked like human bodies lying on the floor. Curiosity drove him to approach, wanting to know what the cell contained. With careful steps, Tsubasa approached the cell next to Azura's. The closer he got, the more pungent the stench that stung his nose, making his stomach churn. The smell was the smell of death, a horrifying stench of decay. Tsubasa held his breath and mustered the courage to enter the cell. The sight inside the cell immediately shocked and startled him. Two decomposing human bodies lay on the cell floor, leaving only bone skeletons wrapped in dry skin and tattered clothes. Even though the bodies had decomposed, Tsubasa could still faintly recognize the facial features of the two corpses. Tsubasa's heart seemed to stop beating, a chill crept through his entire body. He recognized the clothes and physical characteristics of the two bodies. They were his parents, Takagami Ryo and Takagami Akari. Tsubasa could not believe what he was seeing. His parents were also imprisoned in this place and died tragically. Tsubasa's tears flowed freely soaking his cheeks, deep sadness and grief struck his heart. He knelt in front of his parents' cell, sobbing bitterly mourning the fate of his family. The Karasuma clan was truly cruel, they not only tortured his brother, but also killed his parents and dumped their corpses in this cursed prison. Tsubasa's anger reached its peak, His vengeance against the Karasuma clan burned even brighter. After weeping for a moment, Tsubasa tried to calm himself. He knew he could not wallow in sadness. He had to get out of this place immediately and take his brother and his parents' remains back to the valley. Tsubasa again separated Venom, and this time he layered it around his parents' remains. With a heavy heart and full of grief, Tsubasa left the Karasuma clan's prison, carrying with him his living brother and the remains of both his parents. He activated Venom and moved at high speed towards the valley. The journey home felt very heavy and long for Tsubasa. His mind was filled with sadness, anger, and resentment. He kept thinking about his brother's suffering and his parents' tragic death. In his heart, Tsubasa swore to avenge the Karasuma clan for everything they had done to his family. He would make them pay dearly for their cruelty and barbarity. This vengeance would be his driving force to become stronger and destroy the Karasuma clan to its roots. Chapter 10, Solidarity in Sorrow. After a long and tiring journey that felt like it had drained every last drop of energy, Venom finally arrived at the valley. A familiar sensation greeted Tsubasa as Venom pierced the earth's surface, emerging right inside his own house. The wooden floor of his home felt soothing after being trapped in a tense journey for so long. The fresh valley air and the distinctive scent of pine immediately greeted his sense of smell, a stark contrast to the stuffy and foul air of the Karasuma prison. This momentary relief, however, was unable to erase the heavy burden he now carried. The pine scent, usually calming, now felt bitter, reminding him of a peace that now seemed far out of reach. After ensuring it was safe, a habit ingrained after his experiences, Tsubasa released Venom that was enveloping his brother's body with the gentlest of movements. Carefully, he moved Azora and laid him down on the bed in the next room. Azora looked like a candle about to extinguish, the flame of life in his eyes barely visible. His skin was deathly pale, his lips dry and cracked, and his breathing shallow and weak. Then, with a somber face full of grief, Tsubasa called his subordinates. Worry constricted his chest, but he knew he couldn't face all of this alone. He needed support and strength from the people who had been faithfully by his side all this time. Not long after, Jinga, Kya, Benkai, Ayam, and Madoka had gathered in the main room of Tsubasa's house. Their presence, although in a tense atmosphere, provided a little warmth amidst the cold despair. The faces he knew so well, although now filled with worry, were a glimmer of hope in the darkness surrounding him. Hotaru did not join as Tsubasa had asked her to look after the three young children. He knew that what he was about to say was not suitable for children to hear. The shadow of a future full of uncertainty and violence should not rob them of their innocence. Hotaru nodded in understanding, although her face also radiated the same worry. Hotaru's eyes, usually cheerful and warm, were now dimmed, reflecting the gravity of the situation they faced. His 5 subordinates were shocked and worried to see the sad expression on Tsubasa's face. They had never seen Tsubasa this sad before. Their leader, who was usually calm, now looked fragile and enveloped in deep sorrow. This sight made their hearts sink, a bad feeling enveloped their minds. The Tsubasa they knew had always been a cheerful figure, and seeing him broken like this made them feel like their world was collapsing with him. Tsubasa-sama, what happened? Jinga asked, being the first to break the oppressive silence. His voice was full of anxiety, reflecting the confusion and worry everyone in the room felt. Jinga's eyes stared at Tsubasa questioningly, seeking answers to the drastic change that had befallen their leader. Jinga, who was usually enthusiastic and full of energy, now looked withered, affected by the aura of sadness emanating from Tsubasa. Tsubasa took a deep breath, trying to calm his turbulent emotions before recounting the terrible events he had just experienced. The air in the room felt heavy and oppressive, as if it too felt the sadness radiating from Tsubasa. In a soft but firm voice, Tsubasa briefly explained what had happened. He told them about his discovery in the Karasuma clan's prison, Azora's terrible condition, and the tragic death of their parents. Each word that came out of Tsubasa's mouth felt heavy and painful, like digging up old wounds that had not yet healed. The shadows of the dark and cold Karasuma prison, the hoarse voice of his brother, and the corpses of his parents haunted him again. Oppressive silence returned to the room after Tsubasa finished his story. This time, the silence felt thicker and more suffocating, filled with echoes of sadness and restrained anger. This silence was not just an absence of sound, but a real presence, pressing on chests and making breaths catch in throats. His 5 subordinates remained silent, their faces deathly pale with shock and anger. They had never imagined that the Karasuma clan would commit such atrocities against Tsubasa's family. This cruelty was beyond humanity's limits. Jinga, Kya, and Benkai clenched their fists tightly, their faces flushed red with anger. Their jaws hardened, their teeth gritted as they held back the outpouring of emotion. Every muscle in their bodies tensed, ready to explode in fury. Ayam and Madoka covered their mouths with their hands, their eyes glistening with tears that were desperate to escape. Azora's suffering and the tragedy of Tsubasa's family touched the deepest recesses of their hearts. The tears welling up in their eyes were a reflection of the pain they felt alongside Tsubasa. "Tsubasa-sama, we must immediately take revenge on the Karasuma clan," Jinga exclaimed in a voice trembling with rage. His emotions exploded, he could no longer contain the burning anger in his chest. He wanted to act immediately, punishing the perpetrators of this atrocity as severely as possible. Revenge was the only thing that now filled his mind, blinding rational consideration. "That's right, Tsubasa-sama, this cruelty cannot be allowed to stand." Kia and Benkai chimed in with equally angry voices. They agreed with Jinga that revenge was the only way to restore honor and demand justice. Their spirits blazed, ready to fight for Tsubasa. They were loyal warriors, ready to risk their lives for their leader and friend. Tsubasa raised his hand, stopping his subordinates' outpouring of anger. He understood their feelings, he also felt the burning desire for revenge in his heart, but he knew that acting rashly would only cause bigger problems. Hasty revenge without careful planning would only plunge them into the abyss of destruction. "I understand how you all feel, I also want to take revenge immediately," Tsubasa said in a calm but determined voice. "But we cannot act rashly. We must think of a well-thought-out plan to take revenge. We must not be carried away by emotion and make mistakes that will harm us." Tsubasa's words came out steadily, showing that even though his heart was wounded, he was still able to think clearly and rationally. The firmness in his voice was a marker that despite his grief, he remained the leader they trusted. The anger of Tsubasa's subordinates subsided slightly after hearing Tsubasa's explanation. They knew that Tsubasa always acted with a cool head and careful calculation. They believed in Tsubasa's leadership and were confident that he would guide them on the right path. Their trust in Tsubasa never wavered, even in difficult times like these. Tsubasa was their compass, a guide in the storm of life. "Yes, Tsubasa-sama, we will follow your orders," Jinga, Kia, and Benkai said in unison, bowing their heads as a sign of obedience. They accepted Tsubasa's decision, although the desire to take revenge immediately still burned in their hearts. They would restrain themselves for the sake of their trust in Tsubasa. Ayame and Madoka could only nod in agreement, still trying to suppress their emotional shock. They entrusted all decisions to Tsubasa, confident that their leader would take the best steps for them all. They were loyal followers, supporting Tsubasa unconditionally. Tsubasa nodded, he knew that his subordinates would always support him no matter what his decision. Their solidarity and loyalty were the greatest strength he had at this moment. Their unconditional support gave Tsubasa the strength to remain steadfast amidst the storm of sadness and anger. They were his family, and they would not leave him. However, more important than anything right now is Azura-Nisan's condition, Tsubasa said in a soft voice, showing his deep concern for his brother's condition. His priority was now clear, saving his brother was above everything else. Tsubasa's subordinates fell silent after hearing Tsubasa's words. They realized that Azura's condition was indeed more urgent to address at this time. Humanity and brotherhood should be prioritized above all else, even above the desire for revenge. They forgot their anger and focused on Azura's suffering. "How is Azura-sama's condition, Tsubasa-sama?" Ayame asked in a worried tone. She imagined Azura's suffering in the Karasuma prison, and her heart ached imagining the physical and mental wounds that Tsubasa's brother had to endure. "His condition is very bad," Tsubasa replied in a sad tone. "Physically, he is very weak and badly injured. But what's more worrying is his mental condition. The trauma he experienced in the Karasuma clan's prison is very deep. He seems to have lost his soul. Although he can still slightly recognize me, he shows no desire to live at all. He is just sullen and silent." Tsubasa recounted his brother's condition carefully, trying to convey how severe Azura's trauma was. Hearing Tsubasa's explanation, the atmosphere in the main room became even gloomier. Everyone felt worried and sorry for Azura, imagining the suffering he had endured. The image of Azura being tortured in the Karasuma prison haunted their minds, making their hearts feel heavy and constricted. They all felt Azura's suffering as if it were their own. "Then, what are we going to do now, Tsubasa-sama?" Madoka asked in a soft tone. Madoka, who was always thoughtful, tried to find a solution in this bleak situation. Tsubasa took a deep breath, looking at his subordinates with a serious gaze. "Right now, our top priority is to save Azura-Nisan," Tsubasa said firmly. "We must find a way to heal his mental trauma and restore his will to live." Tsubasa's decision was final, he would focus on healing his brother before thinking about anything else. "But how, Tsubasa-sama?" "Mental trauma seems difficult to heal," Ayame said hesitantly. She realized that physical wounds might be healed, but inner wounds were often more difficult to treat and required a very long time. "I know this will not be easy, but I will not give up," Tsubasa said with burning determination. "I will conduct research and find a way to heal Azura-Nisan's mental trauma. I will definitely find a solution." Tsubasa's eyes radiated strong conviction, infecting everyone in the room. Tsubasa's subordinates exchanged glances. They saw a strong determination radiating from Tsubasa's eyes. They knew that Tsubasa never joked with his words. If he had made a decision, he would definitely carry it out until successful. "We will support you fully, Tsubasa-sama." Jinga, Kya, and Benkai exclaimed in unison, showing their unwavering loyalty to Tsubasa. They were ready to do anything to help Tsubasa save Azora. Their loyalty was an invaluable strength, a bond that could not be broken. "Thank you, everyone," Tsubasa said with a thin smile, feeling touched by his subordinates' support. "For now, let's postpone our revenge plan. Let's focus on saving Azora Nissan." Revenge could wait, but his brother's health could not. In addition, Tsubasa continued, his voice softening, "We must also give a proper burial to our parents." Tsubasa asked his subordinates to help care for Azora and prepare for their parents' funeral. They all worked together to lighten Tsubasa's burden, showing their solidarity and loyalty to their leader. In an atmosphere of grief, they comforted each other and worked together to face this difficult time. Their togetherness was a fortress of defense in the midst of sadness. The next day, Tsubasa and all his subordinates held a funeral for his parents. The valley was filled with an atmosphere of grief and anger, but also solidarity and determination for revenge. A gentle breeze carried whispers of prayers and promises of vengeance. Tsubasa knew that this was the beginning of a new chapter in his life, a chapter full of challenges and struggles. However, he would not give up. He would face all these challenges and struggles for his family and for the honor of his clan. His vengeance against the Karasuma clan would motivate him to become stronger and wiser. This grief would not break his spirit, but rather become a whip to keep moving forward. He would rise from this sadness, stronger than before. And with the support of his subordinates, Tsubasa was ready to face a future full of uncertainty, but also full of hope. After the funeral was over, Tsubasa gathered his subordinates to convey his orders. The sun began to lean westward, radiating a melancholy orange light, as if it too felt the sadness enveloping the valley. The light of the evening sun was a silent witness to their sorrow and determination. "After this, I will begin to conduct research," Tsubasa said in a serious tone. "And I need your help to look after Azora Nissan and make sure he gets enough rest." Tsubasa would focus on research to heal his brother, while his subordinates would ensure Azora received the care and attention he needed. "Yes, Tsubasa-sama." All of Tsubasa's subordinates answered in unison. After that, Tsubasa immediately went to his research room, determined to begin his research to save his brother. His steps were firm and full of conviction, even though the burden on his shoulders felt increasingly heavy. He would bear this burden for his brother, for his family, for his clan. Chapter 11, Rage and Research. A week had passed since Tsubasa had brought Azora back to the valley. The fragile peace that had settled over the valley was once again disturbed, now by a heavy cloud of sorrow and tension. While Tsubasa and his subordinates grieved and focused on Azora's recovery, elsewhere, a storm of anger and confusion raged at the heart of their enemy's power. Like a dormant volcano about to erupt, unrest and chaos enveloped the Karasuma clan's headquarters. In the Karasuma clan's main residence, a crucial family meeting was underway. The elders of the Karasuma clan had gathered in the grand yet cold main hall, their faces somber and strained, as if burdened by a heavy weight. The atmosphere in the hall felt heavy and suffocating, as if a great storm was about to strike them, shattering all the peace and arrogance they had long upheld. Every glance from the clan elders radiated deep worry and anger. In the main seat, which resembled a simple yet dignified throne, sat the leader of the Karasuma clan. An old man with an ice-cold face etched with deep wrinkles, each line telling a tale of power and cruelty. His eyes were sharp, piercing and assessing everyone who dared to meet his gaze. An aura of lethal power and composure emanated strongly from his figure, yet behind that outwardly calm facade lay embers of anger ready to explode at any moment, scorching anyone who dared to disturb his position. His power and long-held dominance seemed challenged by the incident of their important prisoner's disappearance. The main agenda of this meeting was to discuss the incident of Takagami Azora's disappearance from the clan's prison. The news was like a bolt from the blue for the Karasuma clan, a harsh slap to their reputation and security system that they had always been proud of. How could their important prisoner, who was supposed to be under tight surveillance, just vanish without a trace? This question haunted the minds of every clan member present. A Karasuma member tasked with guarding the prison reported the incident in a trembling voice, his knees weak with chilling fear. He knew very well how furious their clan leader would be upon hearing this bad news. This mistake could be fatal for him, perhaps even costing him his life. "Forgive this subordinate's negligence, clan leader," the guard reported with his head bowed deeply, not daring to look at his clan leader's terrifying face. But Takagami Azora has indeed completely disappeared from his cell. Each word that left his lips felt heavy and bitter, like poison flowing in his blood. Silence instantly enveloped the great hall. Seconds passed in oppressive silence, only the faint sound of the clan elders' breaths could be heard, breaking the suffocating stillness. Then, the silence shattered by the murmurs and whispers of the shocked and confused clan members. Question after question swirled in their minds, seeking answers to this unbelievable event. Several Karasuma clan members looked shocked and anxious upon hearing the news. They did not expect that a prisoner they had considered weak and helpless could just vanish from their tight security. Shame and defeat were clearly etched on their faces. How could he disappear? Is it possible there was an intruder? Asked a clan elder in an anxious tone, breaking the increasingly suffocating silence. This question represented the confusion and disbelief of everyone present in the hall. We found no signs of intruders, and the prison seals are also intact. It seems he was taken away by someone from underground, replied the guard, still with his head bowed, afraid to raise his face and see his clan leader's anger. This answer further deepened the confusion and anxiety of the clan elders. The Karasuma clan leader frowned deeply, his eyes radiating a cold aura that made the guard's hair stand on end. He did not expect anyone to dare to take such reckless action in his territory, openly challenging his authority and power. This was not just a matter of security, but also a matter of the clan's pride. Who dares to do this? The Karasuma clan leader demanded, his voice a low rumble, each syllable laced with menace and barely contained fury. Could it be Takagami remnants, still alive and lurking in the shadows? The question hung heavy in the air, demanding a definitive, satisfactory answer. Several Karasuma clan members began to speculate about who was behind Azora's disappearance. Various conspiracy theories arose, ranging from actions by the Karasuma clan's enemies taking advantage of the situation, to the involvement of mysterious outside forces unknown to them. Suspicion and paranoia began to creep into their minds, creating an atmosphere of mutual distrust and disbelief. However, there were also some Karasuma clan members who felt disgusted and dismissive of this incident. They considered this just a foolish and reckless act by the weak and helpless remnants of the Takagami clan, nothing more than a minor disturbance that was not worth worrying about. Their arrogance and sense of superiority blinded the eyes of their hearts and minds. It's probably just a few Takagami rats hiding and trying to save their failed master, said one clan member in a cynical and condescending tone, sneering at the efforts of anyone who dared to defy their clan. They could never be a threat to us, the Karasuma clan, another clan member chimed in with an equally arrogant tone. They are just trash, not worth our concern. Just leave them be, they will die on their own anyway. Their arrogance made them blind to the potential threat that might arise from the Takagami clan remnants. However, among the Karasuma clan members who were dismissive, there were also some clan elders who were more cautious and felt the need to investigate this incident seriously and thoroughly. They did not want to underestimate even the smallest enemy, because even a small enemy could become a thorn in the flesh if not properly addressed. Wisdom and life experience made them more vigilant and not rash in assessing the situation. We must not underestimate them, a clan elder said in a serious tone, cutting off the dismissive clan member. We must investigate who dared to interfere in our affairs and insult the clan's honor. His tone was firm and full of warning, reminding everyone present not to fall into complacency and arrogance. If these are indeed Takagami remnants, we must make sure to eradicate them to their roots, another clan elder chimed in with an equally firm tone. We must not allow them to continue living and become a thorn in our flesh, disturbing the clan's peace and power. The determination to completely eradicate the Takagami clan remnants rekindled in the Great Hall. The Karasuma clan leader raised his hand, stopping the debate that was starting to heat up among his clan members. The atmosphere in the hall returned to deathly silence, all eyes fixed on their clan leader, awaiting further orders that would determine the direction of the Karasuma clan's actions. Enough! The Karasuma clan leader roared in a firm and authoritative voice, echoing throughout the hall, breaking the tension and debate that had briefly occurred. We must not underestimate any enemy, no matter how small. We must take every threat seriously, no matter how insignificant it seems. His voice was like thunder, asserting his authority and leadership. Send an investigation team to find out who is responsible for Takagami Azora's disappearance, ordered the Karasuma clan leader in a cold and piercing tone, his eyes radiating burning anger. And make sure to increase security throughout the clan territory. I do not want such an incident to be repeated, shaming the Karasuma clan in the eyes of the ninja world. This order was a declaration of war against anyone who dared to defy them. Yes, clan leader. All Karasuma clan members responded in unison, bowing their heads deeply as a sign of absolute obedience. The atmosphere in the Great Hall returned to tension, but this time filled with firm resolve and readiness to carry out their clan leader's orders. Anger and confusion had now turned into a determination to find and punish whoever was responsible for this incident. Meanwhile, far away in the silent Hidden Valley, Tsubasa was immersed in his relentless research. The outside world, including the commotion and fury of the Karasuma clan, seemed to cease to exist for him. His mind's focus was entirely fixed on one overriding goal, saving Azora, his beloved brother. Every second that passed felt invaluable, none to be wasted. He had entrusted his subordinates with Azora's care at his home, and they carried out their duties diligently and attentively. Jinga, Kya, Benkai, Hotaru, Ayam, and Madoka took turns watching over Azora day and night, ensuring his brother received the best care and compassionate attention. However, Azora's mental condition remained deeply concerning and worrying. His brother remained silent, his gaze vacant and empty, as if his soul had long departed his fragile body. Every time Tsubasa visited Azora in between his busy research, his heart twisted at the sight of his brother's wretched condition. Guilt and responsibility weighed heavily on his shoulders. His determination to find a way to save Azora burned even brighter, becoming an unquenchable fire in his soul. After studying various aspects from the fragments of memories of people absorbed as part of the giant brain and some future memories from the Naruto anime in his previous life, Tsubasa deduced several hypotheses for Azora's recovery. The first hypothesis was to use memory seals to suppress or even erase Azora's memory of the horrific events in the Karasuma prison. This was the simplest and relatively safest solution, but Tsubasa was unsure if it would be effective and not cause long-term side effects. The second hypothesis was to study the soul transfer technology developed by Orochimaru in the future. This sounded extremely complex, risky, and dangerous, but promised the potential for a more complete and profound recovery. However, Tsubasa realized that this technology was still far beyond his reach at present. The third hypothesis, also related to Orochimaru, was cloning technology. Tsubasa was uncertain if he could create this technology in a short time, but if he succeeded, he could create a clone body of Azora and transfer his soul to that clone after sealing the terrifying memories that haunted him. This would allow for a near-perfect recovery of Azora's body and memories, but was also the most complex and most difficult option to achieve. Of these three hypotheses, Tsubasa decided to focus on researching the creation of memory seals first. This seemed to be the most feasible and safest solution for the moment. He could always switch to other hypotheses if memory seals failed to produce the desired results. His main priority was to do something as quickly as possible to alleviate his brother's suffering. Tsubasa began to carefully formulate his research plan, listing the materials and equipment needed. He utilized the giant brain in his body to accelerate the research process and data analysis. His brain worked at extraordinary speed, processing information and formulating ideas with astonishing efficiency. Every small piece of information he gathered was processed and analyzed in depth, producing an increasingly comprehensive understanding. Tsubasa spent hours in his silent laboratory, conducting various experiments and simulations, trying relentlessly. The room was filled with complex research equipment, test tubes, and notes scattered across the table. The aroma of potions and chemicals filled the air, a silent witness to Tsubasa's arduous struggle. He read the memories of many corpses whose brains he had absorbed, studying ancient jutsu, the intricate anatomy of the human brain, and the mysteries of human psychology. Knowledge from the past and future mixed in his mind, providing a unique and invaluable perspective. He was like a modern alchemist, trying to concoct a magical formula to heal a wounded soul. Sometimes, he felt frustrated and despondent when his experiments failed or did not produce the expected results. Failure after failure tested his mental resilience to the limit, but the image of Azora's gloomy face and his vacant stare were a constant reminder of why he must not give up, why he must keep fighting. He kept trying and trying again, driven by a burning determination to save his brother, to restore Azora's long-lost smile and will to live. Failure was not the end for him, but rather the beginning of valuable learning. Every failure was considered a valuable lesson. Every step back was considered preparation for a larger and more steady step forward. He was confident that with persistence, patience, and tireless hard work, he would definitely be able to find a solution to this complex problem, saving his brother from the abyss of despair. Night after night, Tsubasa continued to conduct research diligently and passionately, ignoring the fatigue and drowsiness that afflicted his body. He often even forgot to eat and drink, too focused on his research that had seemingly become an obsession. His determination to prove that he was capable of saving Azora, capable of defeating despair, became the fuel that ignited his spirit. In the deep silence of the night, only the soft hum of laboratory equipment and a sound of book pages occasionally being turned accompanied Tsubasa in his long and arduous research. The hidden valley was lulled into the peace of night, but in Tsubasa's laboratory, his mind and spirit raced at the speed of light, seeking a glimmer of hope in the darkness. He felt as if he was racing against time, having to quickly find a way to save Azora before it was too late, before his brother succumbed to despair and lost hope forever. The fear of losing Azora, his only remaining family, drove him to work harder and faster, beyond the limits of his ability. Tsubasa's research determination and spirit burned even brighter, fueled by his love and responsibility to save his brother. Sacrifice and hard work no longer felt like a heavy burden, but rather as a path that must be taken, the only way to save Azura and bring back happiness to the now grieving valley. In the silent hidden valley, Tsubasa's research began, a long and arduous journey that would determine the fate of his family and his valley. Destiny seemed to be at his fingertips, awaiting his decisions and the results of his research, full of hope and uncertainty. Meanwhile, the Karasuma clan began their investigation into Azura's disappearance. They were completely unaware that their true enemy was far more dangerous and cunning than they imagined. Hatred and arrogance had blinded them to a greater threat, a threat that was coming from the darkness of the hidden valley. The confrontation between the arrogant Karasuma clan and the vengeful Tsubasa was drawing closer, and a devastating clash that would shake the ninja world seemed inevitable. The fate of many would depend on the final outcome of this terrible clash. Chapter 12, Breakthrough. In surprise days turned into weeks, and weeks metamorphosed into months. Time continued to etch its marks, even in the hidden valley, seemingly isolated from the hustle and bustle of the outside world. Seasons came and went, painting the valley's landscape with a dramatic palette. The trees, once vibrantly green, began to shed their leaves. The foliage slowly transformed into shades of golden brown before finally falling in droves, leaving behind bare branches that braved the increasingly cold autumn wind. However, inside the laboratory nestled in the heart of the valley, time seemed to stand still. Within those walls, seasons held no sway. There, only the diligence and dedication of a young man named Tsubasa reigned supreme. His days and nights blurred into a relentless routine of research. Tsubasa's laboratory was a visual representation of his complex yet structured mind. Intricate equipment was arranged on tables and shelves, glass bottles filled with colorful liquids shimmered like mysterious gems, test tubes stood in neat rows, and mechanical tools unfamiliar to the untrained eye occupied every corner of the room. Technology had indeed begun to develop in this world, yet it remained hidden behind the shadows of the Sengoku era, which still raged across the land. Ancient scrolls lay scattered among stacks of books and handwritten notes on aged parchment. These precious artifacts, spoils from the collections of various ninja clans from all corners of the world, served as sources of inspiration and clues for his research. The secret tales and forbidden techniques inscribed within them were the keys he sought. Across every inch of space, papers filled with formulas and diagrams were strewn, some appearing crumpled and stained with fluids, silent witnesses to countless experiments. The aroma of potions and chemicals permeated the air, pungent yet familiar, mingling with the distinctive scent of ink and old paper. These odors had become the hallmark of Tsubasa's laboratory. A thin layer of dust coated most surfaces, hinting that the room was used more for work than cleaning. Cleanliness was a luxury he couldn't afford himself. Tsubasa toiled alone, working tirelessly. His days and nights merged into a seamless expanse of profound research. He often lost track of time, forgetting to eat, even forgetting to rest. His body might have been weary, but his mind remained alert, focused entirely on one noble goal: to create an effective memory seal to save Azura, his brother. He experimented with various memory seal formulas, testing their effects on small experimental animals he captured in the forest around the valley. Forest mice, wild rabbits, even small birds became his test subjects. With meticulous care, he applied the seals he had created, closely observing the changes in behavior and mental reactions of these animals. Every twitch, every shift in their gaze, did not escape his attention. Experiment after experiment was conducted, yet they often ended in failure. Hope, once ignited, was quickly extinguished by disappointing results. Failure had become Tsubasa's constant companion on his research journey. He was almost accustomed to this bitter taste, yet each failure still felt like a crushing blow to him. The seals Tsubasa created were sometimes too weak, producing no effect whatsoever on the target's memory. The experimental animals continued to behave as usual, as if nothing had happened. All of Tsubasa's efforts and hopes felt futile. At other times, the seal was too potent, reacting excessively and damaging the brains of the experimental animals. The consequences were fatal. The unfortunate creatures perished on Tsubasa's experiment table. This type of failure felt even more bitter, because in addition to being unsuccessful, it also caused suffering to other living beings. Frustration began to haunt Tsubasa due to the continuous failures. The pressure to save Azura grew increasingly immense, while a solution seemed ever more distant. He felt trapped in a vicious cycle of endless failure. In despair, he would often run his fingers roughly through his hair, muttering to himself in annoyance. His fingers, stained with ink and chemicals, only worsened his already disheveled appearance. Exhaustion and frustration were clearly etched on his face. Why is it so difficult? Is there something wrong with my formula? Tsubasa mumbled in desperation, his voice catching in his throat. He stared at the formulas he had written, trying to find errors or omissions he might have overlooked. His eyes scanned every line and symbol, hoping to find a glimmer of hope. He felt as if he were walking in a dark and endless labyrinth, with no exit in sight. Every path he tried always led to a dead end, every hope he grasped always vanished. His self-confidence began to erode with repeated failures. He began to question his own abilities. Weariness and drowsiness began to plague him, his eyelids felt heavy and sore. However, Tsubasa refused to give up. He knew that Azora was depending on him, and he could not forsake the only family member he had left in this world. The image of Azora's pale and hopeless face was always a spur for him. He gulped down the bitter coffee he made himself, the hot, dark liquid burning his throat, yet helping to ward off drowsiness and restore his focus to his research. The bitter taste of coffee seemed to remind him of the bitterness of failure, and spurred him to seek the sweetness of success. He would not let this bitterness consume him. Sometimes, amidst his busyness and frustration, he would pause for a moment to gaze at Azora. His brother still lay weakly in his room, his gaze empty and listless. Azora's condition, which showed no signs of improvement, was always a spur for Tsubasa. Every time he looked at Azora, his determination rekindled. Seeing his brother's worrying condition, Tsubasa's spirit reignited. Exhaustion and frustration seemed to vanish instantly, replaced by steely resolve. He must not give up, he must keep striving until he succeeded in saving Azora. He promised himself, to Azora, that he would find a way. Tsubasa returned to his desk, staring at his research notes with tired yet determined eyes. The light from the laboratory lamp reflected in his weary eyes, mirroring the undying spirit within him. A flame of hope still flickered, though small, yet enough to illuminate the dark path ahead. He meticulously analyzed each failure, seeking patterns and errors he might have missed. He re-examined the results of previous experiments, trying to understand why his seals were not working as expected. He investigated every detail, no matter how small. He revisited the dusty ancient books, searching for new inspiration and clues. Every page he turned, every line he read, was hoped to provide a glimmer of hope for his research. He delved into the wisdom of the past to find answers for the future. Tsubasa attempted to modify his memory seal formula, altering the composition of ingredients and the sequence of seal application. He considered every detail, even minor changes he calculated meticulously. He knew that success often hidden overlooked small details. Meticulousness was his weapon. With the modified formula, he conducted another experiment, hoping for success this time. His heart pounded as he applied the seal to a new experimental animal. He observed intently, awaiting any reaction that might occur. The passing seconds felt like eternity. This time, his experiment showed slightly different results. There were changes in the experimental animal's behavior, although these changes were not drastic and not entirely in line with what he had hoped for. However, it was a change. The seal Tsubasa created seemed to have succeeded in influencing the experimental animal's memory, although the effect was still imperfect and unstable. Only a small part of the memory was affected, and the effect was not long-lasting. However, for Tsubasa, this was significant progress. It was a small but important step on his journey. Tsubasa felt a surge of joy and motivation from this progress. At least, he knew that he was on the right track, even though the road was still long. A glimmer of hope reignited in his heart, brighter than before. He felt that he was not alone in this darkness. He continued to refine his memory seal formula, trying various variations and modifications. Every day, he conducted new experiments, testing different formulas, and meticulously analyzing the results. His perseverance and tenacity began to bear fruit. Step by step, he moved closer to his goal. After several weeks of intense experimentation, Tsubasa finally succeeded in creating a memory seal that was relatively stable and effective. This seal was able to seal a portion of the target's memory without damaging the brain or causing harmful side effects. The experimental animal showed behavioral changes consistent with the targeted memory being sealed, and the effect lasted long enough. This success felt like an oasis in a barren desert for him. Tsubasa felt relieved and happy with this achievement. After months of struggle, he finally reached one of his main goals in this research. He had proven to himself that he was capable of overcoming difficulties and creating something useful. He had proven that perseverance would yield results. However, in the midst of the memory seal research process, Tsubasa inadvertently discovered another intriguing ninjutsu technique. A great curiosity and an inexhaustible spirit of experimentation led him to an unexpected discovery. Curiosity was the flame that guided him. While trying to create a more complex memory seal, Tsubasa experimented with more intricate and detailed chakra manipulation. He tried various chakra flow patterns, frequencies, and concentrations, trying to find the optimal combination for his memory seal. He explored the limits of chakra ability, like an explorer venturing into uncharted territory. In one of his experiments, Tsubasa accidentally created a chakra clump that separated from his body and moved independently. The chakra clump appeared like his shadow, moving and acting as if it possessed its own consciousness. Tsubasa was surprised and amazed to see this phenomenon. He observed the chakra shadow intently, trying to understand what was actually happening. He felt a strange connection with the shadow, as if the shadow was part of himself. This was not just a scientific phenomenon, but also a spiritual experience. He realized that he had inadvertently discovered a ninjutsu technique very similar to the famous shadow clone jutsu or shadow clone jutsu in the ninja world. So he immediately conducted further research and strove to perfect this ninjutsu. As a result, the shadow clone jutsu or shadow clone jutsu was born in his hands in this world, predating its actual creator, Senjudobi Rama. The technique he had previously only seen in anime and ancient scrolls, he had now inadvertently managed to create himself. Luck and genius converged in this moment. Tsubasa immediately studied this new technique meticulously, trying to understand its mechanisms and full potential. He performed various exercises and experiments to improve the control and strength of the shadow clones he created. He felt like he had found a priceless treasure. Tsubasa discovered that these shadow clones were not mere illusions, but possessed substance and were capable of physical attacks. The clones could move and fight independently, although their strength was not as great as the original body. However, their numbers could compensate for the lack of individual strength. He also realized that these shadow clones could share information and experiences with the original body. Any information collected by the shadow clones would be instantly transmitted to Tsubasa's mind. This made shadow clones an extremely useful tool for information gathering and combat. Tsubasa was very enthusiastic about the discovery of this shadow clone technique. It was an unexpected bonus from his memory seal research. He knew that this shadow clone technique would be very useful to him in the future, both for research and for protecting the valley. Shadow clones would become tireless research assistants and loyal protective troops. With shadow clones, he could conduct more complex and dangerous experiments with minimal risk to himself. He could also use shadow clones to scout enemies, gather information, and even engage in combat if necessary. After 5 months of exhausting yet fruitful research, Tsubasa finally achieved an important goal, creating a memory seal. Furthermore, he had inadvertently discovered the shadow clone technique. 2 major achievements in one research period. He was proud of his achievements, but he knew that this was just the beginning of a long journey. There was still much research he had to do to fully save Azora and prepare himself to avenge himself against the Karasuma clan. Tsubasa decided to give himself a short break after 5 months of intense research. He needed time to recover his energy and spirit before moving on to the next stage of research, which was sure to be more complex and difficult. Rest was fuel for further research. He hoped this break would refresh his mind and restore his focus. However, Tsubasa could not truly rest peacefully. His mind remained filled with plans and strategies for the future. He would not stop until his goals were achieved. Chapter 13, Productive Rest. 5 months passed in the stillness of the laboratory, a silence so thick it was almost palpable, punctuated only by the sharp scent of chemicals and the low hum of research equipment that never ceased to drone. The stone walls of that subterranean room had become silent witnesses to Tsubasa's unwavering dedication to his mysterious research experiments. On his cluttered workbench, glass bottles filled with colorful liquids stood in rows, surrounded by ancient parchment scrolls and notes filled with intricate symbols. The dim light of an oil lamp reflected off their surfaces, casting long shadows that danced across the walls, as if joining the young ninja in his tireless work. Tsubasa, having navigated an intense period of revolutionary memory seal creation and the unexpected discovery of the shadow clone technique, finally decided to take a full month of rest. His body and mind felt weary, his limbs ached in places he hadn't realized, his brain felt clouded, heavy with the fatigue from his intense experiments. He needed time to truly recover, to replenish his depleted energy, before diving back into even deeper and more complex research. Although he called it rest, Tsubasa was not the type to remain idle without doing anything. For him, true rest meant shifting focus, not complete cessation. His ever-active brain whirred, refusing to be left dormant. He used this month of rest for various productive agendas, a unique concept of rest for a tireless ninja. For him, this was a time to recharge his physical energy, to resharpen his ninja instincts which might have become slightly dulled from spending too long buried in books and laboratory equipment, and to reflect on all the discoveries and experiences he had been through. One of Tsubasa's important agendas during his rest period was to monitor the movements of the Karasuma clan. A burning curiosity and a never-present vigilance within him drove him to periodically slip out of the Hidden Valley using Venom, his reliable secret ninjutsu. His destination was the domain of the Karasuma clan, the nest of the cursed family responsible for the destruction of his Takagami clan. Tsubasa wanted to ascertain whether the cursed clan had become aware of his infiltration into their headquarters several months prior. Azora's disappearance from their prison must have caused an uproar within the Karasuma clan. He needed to know the extent of their reaction, and what measures they had taken to tighten security. This information was crucial for planning his next steps. From a distance, Tsubasa observed the activity around the Karasuma clan's headquarters. From behind the dense trees on the border of the territory, he studied the patrol patterns they employed, identified weak points in their security system, and looked for signs of increased vigilance. His trained eyes were able to capture small details that might be missed by ordinary ninja eyes. He observed the movements of patrolling guards, the strategic positions of watchtowers, and even minor changes in the layout of buildings that might indicate security modifications. Once he felt it was safe enough to approach, he slipped into the clan's headquarters using Venom, moving underground like an invisible shadow. The earth became his ally, darkness his protective cloak. Tsubasa moved nimbly and silently, avoiding any potential traps or sensors that the Karasuma clan might have installed. Of course, he was very careful in this process, fully relying on his instincts and sensory abilities, honed to a high degree, to avoid detection. Every step he took was measured, every slight sound heeded, and every shift in the ambient aura was keenly sensed. In his closer observation, Tsubasa noted a significant increase in security at the Karasuma clan's headquarters. The number of guards appeared greater than usual, patrols were conducted more frequently and with more erratic routes, and watch posts were erected at strategic points that were previously vacant. An aura of heightened vigilance was palpable, as if the entire compound pulsed with tense energy. It seemed they had indeed become aware of Azora's disappearance and had taken drastic measures to prevent a similar incident from happening again. However, from all that Tsubasa observed, it appeared the Karasuma clan was still unaware of the intruder's identity and how he had managed to enter their prison and steal a prisoner without being detected. They had increased security across the board, yet it was as if they were still groping in the dark, without a definite clue as to the source of the threat. Tsubasa felt a slight sense of relief at this discovery, but he remained vigilant and did not underestimate the Karasuma clan in the slightest. This increased security actually indicated that they must have begun a serious investigation, and sooner or later, they might find clues leading back to him. Tsubasa realized that he should not linger in enemy territory. Having obtained sufficient information, he promptly returned to the Hidden Valley with caution, his tracks erased, his presence undetected. Besides monitoring the Karasuma clan, Tsubasa also used his month of rest to travel around the ninja world. He saw this as an opportunity to truly rest from the pressures of research and to travel, refreshing his mind. In his mind, the vast ninja world held many mysteries and beauties that he had never explored. Furthermore, he also hoped to find interesting things or new experimental materials that might be useful for his research in the future. For him, the world was a giant laboratory full of unlimited discovery potential. Tsubasa's travels were, of course, undertaken using Venom. This ninjutsu, born from his ingenuity, became more and more developed and perfected with each passing day. His control over the ninjutsu became more precise, his speed increased, and his ability to conceal himself became ever more undetectable. Venom was no longer just a technique, but an extension of his body, a means of transportation and an invaluable shield. Tsubasa visited various places of interest in the ninja world, from remote villages in the quiet mountains that held local wisdom, to bustling port cities teeming with the hustle and bustle of trade and diverse cultures. He enjoyed the beautiful natural scenery, from snow-capped mountain peaks to white sandy beaches lapped by blue waves. He sampled a variety of exotic local cuisines that tantalized his taste buds, from spicy dishes that burned the tongue to sweet foods that softened the heart. He also learned about various different cultures and customs, broadening his horizons and opening his eyes to the diversity of the ninja world. This journey helped him relieve stress and broaden his thinking, giving him a fresh perspective on life. While enjoying his travels, Tsubasa remained vigilant and observant of his surroundings. His ninja instincts were always active, watching for potential threats and opportunities that might arise. He was never truly off guard, even when he was resting. For him, vigilance was an inseparable part of a ninja's identity. He sought information about rare ninjutsu techniques that might be forgotten by history, strange plants and animals that possessed unique properties, or unusual natural phenomena that held mysteries. Every place he visited, he always sought to find out if there were interesting things he could learn or collect. He visited hidden black markets in the narrow alleys of cities, and remote places that might hold rare items or valuable information. Occasionally, during his travels, Tsubasa became involved in minor skirmishes with bandits or rogue ninja who tried to bother him when he was not in Venom mode. He used these opportunities to train his ninjutsu skills and test the shadow clone technique he had newly discovered. These battles, although small and insignificant, provided valuable experience and sharpened his fighting instincts. Every enemy he faced, no matter how small, became a teacher who taught him about his weaknesses and strengths. During his journey, Tsubasa also visited various places that held interesting history or legends. He explored the ruins of ancient temples abandoned by past civilizations, mysterious caves filled with puzzles and ancient traps, and forbidden forests that held hidden secrets and legendary creatures. A great curiosity drove him to investigate every place that caught his attention, seeking answers to the questions that constantly swirled in his mind. Tsubasa hoped to find clues or ancient artifacts that might be related to his research or to the forgotten history of the ninja world. He studied ancient inscriptions carved on temple walls, read old records stored in hidden libraries, and listened to folklore from local residents passed down from generation to generation. Every piece of information, no matter how small, he carefully noted and stored. For him, history was the key to understanding the present and the future. Although he did not find any significant experimental materials during his journey, Tsubasa managed to gather a wealth of interesting information and expand his knowledge of the ninja world. He learned about various different ninjutsu techniques from different clans, the diverse cultures and customs of ninja clans, and the history of the regions he visited. He also gained valuable experience and improved his fighting skills, making him an even more seasoned ninja. This journey was not just physical rest, but also mental and spiritual rejuvenation. Seeing the vast and complex ninja world made him realize that his problems, though seemingly large and complicated, were only a small part of a larger picture. He realized that the ninja world was far broader and more complex than he had ever imagined. There were still many things he did not know, and many mysteries yet to be solved. His current knowledge and strength were still very limited compared to the vastness of the ninja world. Tsubasa felt increasingly motivated to continue learning and growing, to become stronger and wiser. He wanted to explore more regions, learn more techniques, and uncover more secrets of the ninja world. This journey had rekindled the spirit of adventure within him, a thirst for knowledge and a desire to conquer challenges. He no longer felt tired or despondent, but filled with new energy and burning determination. In the midst of his long journey exploring the ninja world, Tsubasa inadvertently stumbled upon an incident that caught his attention. As he traveled using Venom around a dense and dark bamboo forest, Tsubasa heard the sounds of fierce combat on the surface of the ground where he was submerged deep underground. The sound of clashing weapons, explosions of jutsu, and battle cries were clearly audible through the earth, breaking the silence of the bamboo forest. Irresistible curiosity drove him to approach the source of the sound with caution. He could feel the vibrations of the battle through the ground, growing stronger as he got closer to the scene. Tsubasa decided to surface and see what was happening. He could not ignore the sounds of battle. His instincts told him that something important was unfolding and this might be fortunate for him. From behind a thick clump of bamboo, Tsubasa saw a fierce battle taking place in a clearing in the middle of the forest. Two groups of ninja faced each other, engaged in a devastating and deadly exchange of ninjutsu. The sounds of clashing weapons, exploding jutsu, and battle cries deafened the ears, creating a chaotic and dangerous atmosphere. Dust and bamboo splinters flew through the air, mingling with the scents of blood and sweat. One group consisted of several pale-skinned men with white hair, their skin also appearing pale and unhealthy, as if they rarely saw sunlight. They were dressed all in white, with two small, round red tattoos painted on their foreheads. These tattoos looked familiar, but he could not yet recall where he had seen them before. A cold and dark aura also emanated from this group of ninja. The other group was a few blue-haired teenagers. They appeared younger and less experienced than their opponents. Their clothes were simpler, but appeared worn and tattered. Their aura also seemed weaker, although their facial expressions were tense and full of determination. They were also outnumbered by the white-haired group. Despite this, their fighting spirit seemed to burn brightly. They fought tenaciously and without fear. Tsubasa observed the battle intently, trying to gain an overview of the actual situation. He paid attention to the ninjutsu techniques used by both groups, their unique fighting styles, and other signs that could provide clues about their identities. This battle did not seem like an ordinary skirmish. There was something deeper and more complex behind it, an intrigue or conflict that might involve larger and more powerful parties. Tsubasa felt drawn to find out more. His instincts told him that this incident might offer him an advantage. Chapter 14. Surprising offer in war. After observing the raging battle for a while, Tsubasa's hawk-like eyes finally recognized the group of men with pale white hair. Two red circular tattoos emblazoned on their foreheads, right above their wrinkled and coarse brows, were an unmistakable hallmark. They were members of the Kagaya clan, the legendary ninja clan whose name was always uttered in trembling tones of awe, or perhaps more accurately, fear. The Kekkei Genkai Shikatsu, bone manipulation, was a terrifying ability that flowed within their blood, a power that transformed bones from mere body supports into unimaginable weapons of mass destruction. The Kagaya clan was etched in the history of the ninja world as a bloodthirsty clan, uncompromisingly aggressive, and possessing a horrifying sadistic tendency. For them, battle was not merely a tool to achieve political goals or defend territory, but a ritual of worship towards death, a cruel entertainment stage that satisfied their thirst for violence. In the dark records of the ninja world, the Kagaya clan was always remembered not for brilliant achievements or positive contributions, but for their ferocity and cruelty that surpassed the limits of humanity on every battlefield they set foot upon. Tales of merciless massacres, brutal attacks without warning, and their sadistic pleasure in torturing enemies had become terrifying legends passed down from generation to generation. In stark contrast to the terrifying impression that immediately radiated from the Kaguya clan, the group of blue-haired teenagers before them instead emanated a dim aurora, yet one full of steadfastness and perseverance. Tsubasa initially had difficulty recognizing the clan symbol faintly etched on their worn-out clothing. The symbol seemed foreign, not resembling the emblems of the major ninja clans he had ever learned from his stolen books. Its shape was like shimmering crystal shards, arranged in a complex yet elegant geometric formation. However, as time passed and his observation sharpened towards their fighting style and ninjutsu, fragments of memory in Tsubasa's mind began to arrange themselves, forming a clearer picture. Crystal. Yes, crystal-based ninjutsu. Tsubasa murmured while searching for information about their clan in his memory. They were able to create weapons and shields from beautiful yet deadly sparkling crystals, manipulating their chakra energy to form solid, transparent material that emitted prismatic light. They were even able to launch sharp crystal attacks with astonishing precision, piercing and tearing through enemy defenses with incredible accuracy. Suddenly, like a lightning flash in the middle of the night, a faint memory from his previous life surged to the surface of Tsubasa's mind. An elegant and charming female ninja who used crystal-style Kekkei Genkai as her main weapon. The character's name appeared on its own in his memory, as if engraved in gold ink on the deepest sheets of his memory. Guren. No way. Are they ancestors of Orochimaru's female subordinate character in the future, the Kongo clan? Tsubasa mused with a tone of surprise mixed with burning curiosity. He felt like he had found a missing puzzle piece, a puzzle piece that suddenly completed a larger and more complex picture. The Kongo clan, yes, the Kongo clan was indeed not a very famous ninja clan or one with significant influence on the ninja world's power map. They were better known as a minor clan, a small clan whose existence was often overlooked in historical records. However, they possessed a unique and powerful crystal-style Kekkei Genkai, a rare ability that held enormous hidden potential. The question then arose in Tsubasa's mind, how could he, a young ninja who had just entered this vast ninja world, know about the Kongo clan, a relatively unknown and rarely discussed clan? The answer lay in his obsessive habit of collecting information that had developed since his arrival in this world. Before starting his intensive research in the underground laboratory of the Hidden Valley, Tsubasa had carried out a series of reckless and daring actions, stealing various clan encyclopedia books from the secret libraries of several famous ninja clans. These stolen books, containing historical records, family trees, secret ninjutsu techniques, and in-depth information about various ninja clans in the world, had become a valuable source of knowledge for him. Among the pile of information he obtained, there was also a brief record about the Kongo clan, a small, marginalized clan but possessing a Kekkei Genkai that caught his attention. In the fierce battle unfolding before him, the Kongo teenagers seemed increasingly overwhelmed by the relentless attacks from the Kaguya clan, who were clearly more experienced, more aggressive, and more brutal. The number of Kaguya clan members visible on the battlefield was also greater, giving them a significant tactical advantage in close combat. The Kaguya men attacked brutally and mercilessly, utilizing their Shikatsumiyaku ability to create deadly bone weapons in the blink of an eye. The bones emerged horrifyingly from within their bodies, splitting skin and flesh, then quickly morphing into pointed bone spears, jagged bone swords, and sharp bone thorns ready to tear and destroy anything that stood in their way. Their attacks were launched with lightning speed, incredible destructive power, and a murderous intent clearly emanating from every movement they made. Several Kongo teenagers had already fallen to the ground, severely wounded and helpless, fresh blood soaking their tattered clothes. Groans of pain and desperate whimpers were heard amidst the sounds of clashing weapons and jutsu explosions. The hope of winning the battle seemed increasingly slim for the Kongo group, as if they had been trapped in an inescapable spider web of death. The Kongo teenage leader, a blue-haired youth with sharp eyes that radiated unwavering determination, although his face was pale with exhaustion, was still trying hard to protect his remaining clan members. With a crystal shield that he painstakingly created, he endured the devastating attacks from the Kaguya clan, parrying bone sword slashes and bone spear thrusts with all his might, while seeking even the smallest gap to launch a counterattack that might change the course of the battle. However, his crystal defense began to crack and shatter into pieces under the continuous bone attacks of the Kaguya clan that rained down on them relentlessly. His chakra energy was running out, his breath was ragged, and his body was beginning to reach its limit. Tsubasa watched intently as the group of Kongo teenagers fought to the death, but fate seemed to be against them. They would soon be completely defeated if no outside help arrived. A moral dilemma began to brew in Tsubasa's mind, questioning whether he should intervene in this battle that was not his concern, or let the law of the ninja world jungle prevail and let the weak perish before the strong. On one hand, he had no moral, political, or kinship obligations to help the Kongo clan, whom he did not know at all. Intervening in the internal affairs of another clan, especially a clan as brutal and unpredictable as Kaguya, could lead to a series of unforeseen problems and consequences. It might be wiser to remain neutral, become a passive observer, and distance himself from potential problems that could threaten his and his clan's safety. However, on the other hand, his conscience screamed. He felt pity seeing the cornered and almost defeated Kongo teenagers, witnessing their desperate struggle to protect themselves and their clan from the threat of extinction. This reminded him of his own Takagami clan's situation, which was also similar to this. Letting them die in vain before his eyes felt truly ironic and unfair, especially if he possessed the ability and power to change the course of fate and offer them a glimmer of hope. Moreover, Tsubasa's scientific curiosity and interest in the crystal-style Kekkei Genkai possessed by the Kongo clan was increasingly burning within him. This was a golden opportunity to learn more deeply about this unique ability, analyze its working mechanism, and explore its potential applications in the ninjutsu research he was pursuing. The crystal-style Kekkei Genkai could be very interesting and valuable research material for him, paving the way for revolutionary new discoveries. Tsubasa thought quickly, weighing every decision he would make, carefully considering the risks and benefits of every action he might take. Moral dilemmas and strategic calculations swirled in his mind, vying to dominate his decision. If he decided to help the Kongo clan, he might get involved in much bigger and more dangerous trouble with the Kaguya clan, a clan known not only for being strong and cruel, but also for being ruthless and intolerant of outside interference in their affairs. The Kaguya clan would not be pleased, and might even be enraged, if an outsider dared to interfere in their affairs, spoiling their pleasure in slaughtering their enemies. This could trigger conflicts that Tsubasa did not want at this time, conflicts that could threaten the existence of the Hidden Valley and his research, which was still far from complete. However, if he chose to let the Kongo clan lose and perish at the hands of the Kaguya clan, he might lose a valuable opportunity to obtain potential subordinates, allies who might be useful in the future, and most importantly, unique and rare research material, the crystal-style Kekkei Genkai. Kekkei Genkai was a rare and invaluable asset, a genetic gift not easily found elsewhere. In addition, saving the Kongo clan from extinction could be a very profitable long-term investment for him. The Kongo clan, indebted to him, might be willing to dedicate themselves and their strength to serve Tsubasa, becoming a valuable asset in the network of power he was building. After quickly and carefully considering all aspects, Tsubasa finally reached a decision. He could no longer stand idly by and watch the group of Kongo teenagers die in vain before his eyes. Burning curiosity, an undying researcher's instinct, and a hint of hidden pity in his heart drove him to take the risk and step forward. Tsubasa took a deep breath, solidified his resolve, and prepared himself to enter the battlefield. He deactivated Venom mode on his body, deciding that for now, it was better not to reveal his strongest trump card to the outside world. He felt it was best never to let Venom be publicly known, especially at this early stage of his power formation. Then, with a swift and efficient hand movement, he prepared the chakra within his body to use other ninjutsu, basic element ninjutsu that he had trained to an admirable level. His own element ninjutsu had also improved rapidly since he first came to this world. With hard practice and a deep understanding of basic ninjutsu theory, he was now confident that he could be a match for Sarutobi Hiruzen, the legendary future third Hokage, in a 5-element ninjutsu contest. Especially with the extraordinarily large chakra reserves he possessed at this time. After repeatedly letting Venom absorb corpses, chakra, physical bodies, and even souls, his chakra had drastically increased, surpassing the normal limits of an ordinary ninja. This was the best opportunity to test how far his ability limits went, how effectively he could fight without using the Venom ninjutsu that had been his mainstay. With steady and confident steps, Tsubasa entered the battlefield, standing upright between the two warring ninja groups. His sudden arrival caused the raging battle to stop instantly, like a strange phenomenon that appeared and amazed anyone who noticed it. All eyes that were previously full of anger, hatred, and despair, now simultaneously turned to him, staring at him with curiosity mixed with wariness. Both the bloodthirsty Kaguya clan members and the desperate Kongo clan teenagers were surprised and wary of the appearance of this unknown stranger. They halted their attacks, freezing in their respective positions, waiting tensely to see what the stranger would do next. A tense and uncertain atmosphere enveloped the battlefield, as if time had stopped turning and all eyes were fixed on one point, Tsubasa. All eyes were on Tsubasa, awaiting his next action with bated breath. The Kaguya clan members stared at him cynically and condescendingly, their gazes dismissive and full of arrogance, as if regarding Tsubasa as merely a small insect that had strayed into their territory. Meanwhile, the Kongo clan teenagers stared at him confused and slightly anxious, both hopeful and fearful of the sudden presence of this stranger. Tsubasa wasted no valuable time on pleasantries or formal introductions. The critical and dangerous situation did not allow for unnecessary formalities. He immediately conveyed his purpose in a clear, loud, and firm tone of voice, directed at the blue-haired teenager who appeared to be the Congo group leader. His voice cut through the silence of the suddenly quiet battlefield, like lightning in broad daylight, shaking the tension hanging in the air. "Are you willing to become my subordinates? I promise I will save you," Tsubasa asked in a flat but confident tone, without the slightest hint of doubt or uncertainty in his intonation. Those words, spoken bluntly and without emotion, broke the battlefield's freeze, triggering a wave of confusion, shock, and curiosity that swept over both sides. Tsubasa's sudden, unexpected, and seemingly arrogant words left both sides speechless, frozen in deep confusion. The question hung in the air, like a time bomb ready to explode, triggering all sorts of reactions, interpretations, and wild speculations in the minds of everyone who heard it. What did this stranger mean by this strange and absurd offer? Why did he suddenly appear in the middle of their battle and offer unsolicited help? And why did he ask them, the almost extinct Congo clan, to become his subordinates? What did he really want? These questions swirled in the minds of the shocked ninjas, creating mental chaos and immense confusion. Chapter 15, Echoes of Clones. The wind rustled through the bamboo forest, carrying the scent of earth and damp leaves. In the midst of this silent forest, the tension was palpable. Kaguya clan members exchanged glances, confusion evident on their hardened faces. The words just spoken by the small boy before them were ludicrous, absurd. Saving the Congo clan from their hands? This child, who had appeared out of nowhere, dared to interfere in the affairs of the mighty Kaguya clan, to save the Congo clan whom they had decided to exterminate? Did this boy truly underestimate the strength of the Kaguya clan? Did he not know who he was facing? Expressions of disdain slowly began to adorn the faces of the Kaguya clan members, cynical smiles accompanying their condescending gazes. On the other side, the Congo clan teenagers were stunned, their eyes wide in disbelief. The sudden offer had shocked them, silencing the despair that had previously gripped their hearts. Amidst the shock and confusion, a glimmer of hope suddenly ignited in their dim eyes, like a small candle dancing in the dark night. Could this be a way out of the abyss of despair that had yawned before their eyes? Could a miracle truly befall them in these last moments? This stranger, though appearing small and young, radiated an aura of strong confidence in every movement. The Congo clan teenage leader, despite his body being filled with wounds and fatigue gripping him to his very bones, stared at Tsubasa with an intense and assessing gaze. His sharp eyes, which had been forged in the harshness of life and battle, tried to read the intentions and strength of the small boy who had suddenly offered help. He was a leader, and the responsibility for his clan's safety rested on his shoulders. He could not be rash in making decisions. His minimal chakra perception caught something interesting. This boy possessed a considerable amount of chakra, far beyond his youthful appearance. The instincts of a ninja who had been trained for years screamed in his mind that the boy before him was no ordinary person. There was power hidden behind his innocent appearance, power that might change everything. Moments passed in tense silence, only the sound of the wind and the rustling of bamboo leaves could be heard. Finally, the Congo clan teenage leader responded to Tsubasa's offer. Despair and hope mixed in his voice, creating a hoarse yet firm tone, reflecting the soul of a leader responsible for his clan's safety. "If you truly succeed in helping us out of this predicament," Kohaku's voice, the Congo teenage leader, sounded heavy but steady, breaking the silence of the bamboo forest, "then we are willing to become your subordinates." There was a hint of doubt in his tone, but a strong determination was more dominant. This choice, although feeling heavy and unfamiliar, was the best glimmer of hope they had at this moment. Rejecting this offer was tantamount to surrendering to death at the hands of the Kaguya clan. They had no other choice. Living as subordinates, although it was unclear what it would be like, was still better than dying without resistance. Hearing the Congo clan teenage leader's answer, Tsubasa smiled thinly, satisfied with the acceptance of his offer. His smile was not a smug grin of victory, but a calm smile of confidence. He knew that his decision to offer help was the right step. His instincts rarely failed him. This Congo clan, with their unique and potentially powerful crystal-style Kazekage, would be a valuable asset in the future. He could feel the untapped potential within them, like uncut diamonds. "All right, then keep your promise," Tsubasa said firmly, ending this brief negotiation with certainty. His small yet authoritative voice hung in the air. "You certainly won't regret accepting this offer." There was a hidden assurance in his words, a promise of a better future. He had no time to linger. Their enemies, the Kaguya clan, were still lurking and ready to attack at any moment. Every second wasted could be a disaster for the weak Congo clan. Without waiting any longer, Tsubasa immediately showed his true power. He didn't want to waste time and energy explaining or arguing. Real action was the best proof. He would show them that he was the savior they needed. With quick and nimble movements, Tsubasa crossed his index and middle fingers on each hand, releasing his newly created signature technique that he had painstakingly developed, multi-shadow clone jutsu. Chakra light radiated from Tsubasa's body, growing brighter and stronger, like a small sun suddenly appearing in the middle of the forest. The energy it emitted felt so immense, making the surrounding air vibrate. In the blink of an eye, dozens of shadow clones of Tsubasa appeared around him, filling the battlefield that had previously seemed empty. Thin smoke billowed as the clones formed perfectly, displaying Tsubasa's figure in astonishing numbers. The sight was so spectacular and terrifying, making everyone who witnessed it transfixed, shocked and amazed at once. Tsubasa's clones swiftly surrounded the group of Kaguya clan members, forming a tight and menacing circular formation. Their eyes radiated a cold and battle-ready aura. The battlefield that was previously dominated by the Kaguya clan was now completely controlled by Tsubasa and his clones. The Kaguya clan members were utterly shocked to see the sudden increase in the number of enemies. They truly did not expect the small boy before them to possess such great power. Their foolishness and arrogance had blinded their eyes. The contemptuous expressions on their faces vanished instantly, replaced by anxiety and confusion. They began to realize that they had misjudged their opponent. This small child turned out not to be an ordinary child. There was real danger before them, danger that should not be underestimated. Without waiting for Tsubasa's command, the shadow clones immediately stormed the Kaguya clan group at high speed. This sudden and coordinated attack panicked the Kaguya clan. War cries and the clanging of weapons echoed again in the bamboo forest. The battle broke out again, but this time the situation had changed drastically. The Kaguya clan, who had previously dominated the battle and attacked mercilessly, now became the cornered party. Those who had previously attacked now had to desperately defend themselves from the relentless wave of attacks from Tsubasa's shadow clones. Roles had been reversed, and the Kaguya clan had to feel the consequences of their arrogance. Tsubasa's clones moved nimbly and in perfect coordination, attacking Kaguya clan members from all directions. They used various element ninjutsu, alternating between blazing fire, sweeping water, cutting wind, paralyzing lightning, and binding earth. Occasionally, they even combined element ninjutsu to create even more devastating combo attacks. Giant fireballs spun together with wind vortexes, water spears combined with hard earth shards. The unexpected and deadly combinations of element attacks overwhelmed the Kaguya clan. The Kaguya clan members were not weak ninjas, they defended tenaciously, utilizing their Shikatsumiyaku ability to create strong bone defenses and launch counterattacks with deadly bone weapons. Their bones were their shields and swords, terrifying natural weapons. However, the sheer number of Tsubasa's shadow clones overwhelmed them. The continuous and relentless attacks caused the Kaguya clan's defenses to crumble one by one. They were unable to withstand the barrage of attacks coming from all directions. In the midst of the furious battle, Tsubasa's clones demonstrated extraordinary ninjutsu skills. One clone jumped high into the air, launching a series of large fireballs like meteors raining down on the battlefield, forcing Kaguya members to dodge frantically. The fiery meteor rain turned the battlefield into a blazing hell. Fireballs exploded violently as they hit the ground, creating small craters and towering flames. Another clone darted through the bamboo trees, creating confusing shadow illusions, before suddenly appearing behind a Kaguya member and launching a devastating blow with a Rasengan. A strong wind swept through the bamboo leaves as another clone used wind style, great breakthrough, sending out a high-pressure wave of wind that blew several Kaguya members away and slammed them hard into bamboo stalks. Not wanting to be outdone, another clone controlled the earth element, creating towering earth walls to block the Kaguya clan's bone attacks, then turning the ground around the enemy's feet into quicksand, making it difficult for them to move. The quicksand ensnared their feet, binding their movements and making them easy targets. The combination of various element attacks and perfect coordination between clones made the Kaguya clan truly helpless. In a short time, the battle ended with a resounding victory for Tsubasa and his clones. The Kaguya clan was shattered to pieces under Tsubasa's devastating power. Dozens of Kaguya clan members lay lifeless on the ground, defeated by the devastating power of Tsubasa's multi-shadow clone jutsu combined with his element ninjutsu. The battlefield was filled with corpses, blood, and damage from the fierce ninjutsu battle. The Kongo clan teenagers cheered joyfully, feeling relieved and amazed by Tsubasa's extraordinary power. They had witnessed with their own eyes how the stranger they had just met was able to easily defeat the feared Kaguya clan. New hope bloomed again in their wounded hearts. Happiness and relief flooded their hearts, driving away the fear and despair that had haunted them all this time. The Kongo teenage leader, approaching Tsubasa, showed his respect and gratitude. He knelt before Tsubasa, followed by his other clan members. This was the highest sign of respect, a recognition of Tsubasa's strength and kindness. "Thank you very much, young master, you have saved us," said the Congo clan leader in a sincere tone, bowing his head deeply as a sign of respect. His voice trembled slightly with overflowing emotion. "My name is Kohaku, I am the leader of the Congo clan, may I know young master's name?" He continued after introducing himself. He raised his face, looking at Tsubasa with curiosity and hope. His eyes radiated admiration and trust. "My name is Takagami Tsubasa, it's nothing, I just kept my promise," Tsubasa replied briefly. He stared at Kohaku with a probing gaze, trying to understand the character and potential of this Congo clan leader. He wanted to know more about the people who would become his subordinates. "Now tell me, why has the Kagaya clan been chasing you all this time?" Tsubasa asked curiously. He wanted to know more about the conflict between the Congo and Kagaya clans. The reason behind this battle must be more than just a territorial dispute. Kohaku took a deep breath, then recounted the reason why their clan was being pursued by the Kagaya clan. The story he told was a tragic tale of the Kagaya clan's greed and cruelty. Each word he spoke was filled with sorrow and anger. The gist was that the Congo clan possessed ninjutsu with a defensive focus that had the potential to rival or threaten the Kagaya clan with their bone ninjutsu. The Congo clan's crystal-style Kage, with its strong crystal defense and ability to manipulate chakra into crystal energy, was considered a potential threat to the Kagaya clan's superiority. The Kagaya clan did not like any other force matching them, and they did not hesitate to destroy anyone who was deemed a threat. So, they decided to get rid of the Congo clan. They saw the potential in the crystal-style Kage as a serious threat to their dominance. The Kagaya clan attacked our clan's headquarters suddenly, without warning. Kohaku began his story in a bitter tone. The horrific memories were still fresh in his mind, like wounds that would not heal. They massacred everyone, old, young, men, women, no one survived. Our clan headquarters were flattened overnight. His voice trembled, holding back emotion, the bitter memory of his clan's destruction still fresh in his mind. "Only a few of us managed to survive, we ran and hid, trying to find a safe place," Kohaku continued. "However, the Kagaya clan continued to pursue us, not letting us rest. They wanted to make sure that not a single Congo clan member was left." His voice became softer, recounting their struggle to survive. "The Kagaya clan kept chasing us, trying to wipe out the remnants of the Congo clan," he explained with a blank stare, remembering the difficult times they had gone through. His eyes radiated deep sadness, a sadness that could only be felt by those who had lost everything. "We kept running, avoiding their pursuit, surviving with all our might. We were tired and desperate, until you came and saved us," Kohaku said gratefully, looking at Tsubasa with teary eyes. "You are our savior, Master Takagami." He couldn't find the right words to express his deep gratitude. Hearing Kohaku's story, Tsubasa nodded in understanding. He understood the difficulties faced by the Congo clan, and he felt a bit of sympathy for them. The Kagaya clan's unwarranted hatred and the Congo clan's suffering had awakened sympathy within him. Although he usually didn't care about other people's problems, this time there was something different. "From now on, you are my subordinates," Tsubasa told Kohaku and the other Congo clan members in a firm but reassuring tone. "I will protect you and help you rebuild your clan." He made that promise seriously, full of responsibility. Kohaku and the other Congo clan members exchanged glances, then they knelt in ninja style before Tsubasa, showing their deep loyalty and gratitude. They had found a new leader, a new protector, and new hope for their clan's future. But then, Tsubasa did something quite suspicious. He released a thin purple smoke from his body, smoke that came from the venom he controlled. The smoke spread quickly, enveloping all the Congo clan members and the Kagaya clan corpses around them. Within seconds, all the Congo clan members who were kneeling before Tsubasa fell into a deep sleep. The battlefield became silent again, leaving only Tsubasa standing tall in the midst of dozens of unconscious bodies. A strange and chilling calm enveloped the place. Apparently Tsubasa did not want his venom technique to be known to the public, even by his new subordinates themselves. This secret was too dangerous to share with anyone, at least for now. Although they had pledged allegiance, their loyalty was not yet tested. In addition, he also did not want any traces of the venom technique left behind in this place, including the Kagaya clan corpses that might be identifiable. Security and secrecy were his top priorities. Then Tsubasa broke down his venom, creating a large sandworm capable of swallowing all his new subordinates along with the Kagaya clan corpses. In an instant, all traces of the battle and their presence in that place disappeared without a trace. Nothing was left, as if the battle was just a dream. After making sure everything was safe and clean, Tsubasa took them all to another valley he found while traveling around the ninja world. This new valley was secluded and fertile, perfect for the Congo clan's residence. This new valley was also large enough to be made into a future ninja village location. Unlike the valley where he lived now, which was still a bit small if a ninja village was established on it. In addition, he did not bring them to the Takagami clan's valley because he wanted to test their loyalty and abilities first. Trust must be earned, not given away just like that. He also wanted to give them the task of developing this new valley, which he planned to use as the location of the ninja village he would build in his future plans. This valley would be the first stepping stone towards his grand ambition. His dream ninja village, the power he would achieve, all started from this secluded valley. Chapter 16, A New Home. After a long and tiring journey to the new valley using Venom, Tsubasa finally arrived at the border of the Hidden Valley. The underground journey, though fast and safe, was still draining of energy, mind, and chakra. A sense of relief surged in his chest as he reached his destination. The darkness of the underground now gave way to a gentle breeze and the warm morning sunlight. With careful movements, Tsubasa separated the venom part that wrapped around the Kongo clan group from his body. The layer of giant black worms slowly opened, freeing the group it carried. Tsubasa gently released them under the shade of lush trees that grew on the edge of the valley. The morning sunlight piercing through the gaps in the leaves created a calming painting of light and shadow on the green grassy ground. The Kongo clan members lay unconscious on the grass, their bodies looking weak and weary after the fierce battle and the long journey they had just endured. The faces that were previously tense and full of worry now looked calmer, although still bearing traces of deep suffering and anxiety. Lines of fatigue were clearly visible, but at least, they were now safe from the deadly pursuit of the Kaguya clan. Tsubasa made sure that all the Kongo clan members were still unconscious and safe before continuing to the next step. He didn't want anyone to suddenly wake up and panic in a new environment that was foreign to them, and disrupt his plans. The silence of this morning was precious, giving him time to act without interruption. He moved away from the Kongo group, seeking a rather secluded place in the valley. This new valley looked so beautiful and green, much wider than the Takagami Valley that had been his home. A clear river flowed quietly through the valley, flanked by densely and lushly growing trees. Fresh and cool air filled his lungs, refreshing his body and mind that had been weary. The aroma of damp earth and green leaves wafted, awakening a new spirit within him. In a secluded place, among the thick trees, Tsubasa summoned Venom again. The giant black worm emerged from underground with a low rumble, ready to carry out its task. As usual, Venom's task this time was to digest the remaining corpses of the Kaguya clan members he had defeated in the fierce battle. Past grudges and hatred had to be ended, and their fallen strength could be utilized for good. Venom ravenously devoured the corpses, sucking chakra and nutrients from the bodies of the fallen ninjas. This digestion process was not just about removing traces, but also about gathering strength. The digested enemy brains would be fused into the giant brain sealed within Tsubasa's body, while their bodies would become nutrients that could increase his body and chakra strength. This was Tsubasa's way of continuing to grow and become stronger. The process of digesting the corpses by Venom was fast and efficient. In a short time, there were no more traces of corpses left in that place, only empty ground that was a former workplace of Venom. The fishy aroma of blood and flesh that had wafted was now gone, replaced by the fresh aroma of earth and leaves. After all the corpses were perfectly absorbed, Tsubasa sat cross-legged on the ground, focusing his chakra to accelerate the absorption of nutrients from Venom. He felt life energy flooding his body, restoring his drained stamina and increasing his strength. A warm and comfortable sensation spread throughout his body, making every cell feel refreshed again. The fatigue after months of conducting research and fierce battles against the Kaguya clan seemed to vanish without a trace. A moment later, Tsubasa opened his eyes, feeling his body refreshed and full of energy again. A glint of power radiated from his sharp eyes. He felt ready to face the next challenge. At the same time, in the distance, the Kongo clan leader, Kohaku, began to show signs of waking up from his faint. His eyelids flickered, his forehead furrowed, and he began to moan softly. Slowly, his consciousness began to return. Confusion and disorientation still enveloped him. Tsubasa approached Kohaku, who still looked dazed and confused after regaining consciousness. His eyes were still blank, his gaze unfocused, and he seemed to be trying to remember what had happened. The gentle touch of the valley breeze and the sound of the river water trickling slowly helped him return to the real world. "You're awake, it seems," Tsubasa greeted in a flat tone, breaking the morning silence.